Welcome everybody to the January 12th Village Board meeting. I appreciate your attendance and would like to lead off with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our first on the agenda is our wonderful County Legislator, Joel Tyner.
Thank you, Mr. Wonderful Mayor. So the first thing is there's been a little bit of progress. About a decade or so ago, it used to be World War III every spring, early summertime, when it came to the county legislature dealing with the vehicle purchase bond for the county's vehicle fleet. And even the Poughkeepsie Journal was doing editorials saying, "Come on, throw the Democrats a bone, get some hybrids." And so I'm pleased to report that years of me, politely or not so politely, raising a ruckus about this, and a bunch of other people, at least 6 hybrids were included in the vehicle purchase bond that was approved last night. One thing, though, is there's lots of different county sheriff agencies and police departments all across the country that use hybrid vehicles, not exclusively, but incorporate hybrid vehicles into the mix. And so 14 vehicles were purchased by the county sheriff's department last night. None of them were hybrids. At least a few of them could have and should have been, but at least there's progress over the last decade. It's kind of warm out there. I wanted to point out this, and I distributed to you guys. A year ago, the American Lung Association of New York State gave Dutchess County air quality a C, and just a month or two ago, the American Lung Association of New York State gave Dutchess County air quality a D. And I don't want next year to be hearing that Dutchess County air quality is an F. So there's a woman who's way more intelligent than me on these matters. Her name is Joanna Fowler. She's been involved with the Dutchess County Progressive Action Alliance and the Stop Cricket Valley movement. She's going to be joining me 1 week from this Thursday at 6 o'clock. That's June 21st at 6 o'clock across the street at Town Hall here in Rhinebeck. And we're talking about air quality. And we're not just talking about Cricket Valley, which has been permitted to put 200 tons of nitrogen oxide and 60 tons of volatile organic chemicals into the air. That's 260. Now, what does it matter that nitrogen oxide and volatile organic chemicals? Well, when you mix those two things, you get smog, you get ground level ozone. As it is already, the Dutchess County incinerator is by far the biggest polluter in the county, and they put 350,000 pounds of nitrogen oxides in the air, the Dutchess County incinerator, 45,000 pounds of volatile organic chemicals. Remember, class, what happens when you mix the NOx with the VOCs? You get ground level smog and ozone. And we should be doing something better. 95% of the stuff that we put into the incinerator or we put into the landfill could and should be recycled. So join me for that. That's Thursday, June 21st at 6 o'clock. Also, next Wednesday, June 20th, mothersoutfront.org and energyjustice.net. There's a guy named Mike Ewald who's been working very closely with me, who's a nationally known expert on incineration. He's doing a webinar for me and Lisa Marshall. So you can call me at 464-2245. I just shared it on my Facebook wall so you can look at it right now. But it's a free webinar all about trash incineration, a climate and health disaster. That's next Wednesday, the 20th at 7:30. I was concerned a couple years ago in 2016 when it was announced in May of that year that we just had a $57 million fund balance, $57 million left over in the county budget. I was concerned last May when it was announced that we ended up with a $59.6 million fund balance. It's kind of curious, there was a lot of media coverage over the last 2 years about those two announcements. You could hear a pin drop, crickets, nothing about what we found out about last Thursday, $55 million fund balance. Dutchess County ended 2017 with a $55 million fund balance. Now you could say, well, it's a $480 million county budget. What does that impact? What does that have to do with the village of Rhinebeck? There are some real, obviously, everybody in this room knows better than I do, some infrastructure needs when it comes to sidewalks and water and sewer and the rest of it here in the village of Rhinebeck. And from 1996 through 2012, for those 17 years, the average county fund balance, the money left over, was about $20 million, give or take. You add up those 17 years, it was $340 million, divide by 17. On average, basically $20 million left over each year. They changed the county sales tax revenue sharing formula. Voila, EC, for the third year in a row, the county fund balance is literally about triple what it was for decades. So it might not be a bad idea. I talk about this all the time. I'm just one person. It might not be a bad idea for the Dutchess County Association of Supervisors and Mayors to lift their voices on that. I do agree with the county executive wholeheartedly. We need to think differently and do right by people with disabilities. To me, that means, and we just got this information, I've been asking for it for months, that means adults with disabilities, that means kids with disabilities. With a $55 million fund balance, there's no excuse when Down Syndrome Association of the Hudson Valley is asking for $39,000, their funding request should not be denied for a reading tutor program and a balanced bike camp. Okay? The libraries in the area, for creating supportive environments for special needs patrons, that was rejected as well. Okay? I know people who've been working on the ground on the elder abuse movement who say that what happens in Dutchess County, particularly in the Dutchess County Department of Community and Family Services, is really letting our frail elderly down. It is beyond outrageous to me that a $50,000 request from the Mediation Center of Dutchess County for elder abuse work, that was rejected. Because I know for a fact what's happening with elder abuse in Dutchess County is a joke right now. And it has been for the last year or two. There have been some very good people that have been let go. Workforce training for physically and mentally handicapped, that was only a $41,000 request from the Mid-Hudson Workshop, rejected as well. We got a $274 million jail expansion. They didn't have 120 grand for Nubian Directions Youth Build. That's an amazing program for at-risk youth. So I have some real questions when it comes to the Dutchess County Agency Partnership Grant Program. A bunch of my colleagues signed a letter I circulated at last night's meeting calling for at least $1 million to be added to that, because for the last 5 or 6 years, every single year, there's $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 rejected that shouldn't be rejected. I'll wrap up. Bobby Kennedy, we just marked the 50th anniversary of his passing. Skip Backus, who runs Omega, he talks about this. Bobby Kennedy talked about the gross national project counts air pollution and cigarette advertising and ambulances to clear our highways of carnage, locks for our doors, jail for people who pick them. Bobby Kennedy was talking about the gross national product and how ridiculous it is. We have to find another way to measure progress. There are 20 states and different cities and counties who have found a different way. It's called the Genuine Progress Initiative. I circulated a letter last night at the meeting, and I'm calling for a genuine progress indicator index for Dutchess County and for New York State. Also, if you go to the county office building, there's huge signs where the particular company that got a massive contract to do the renovations and the construction at the old Bank of America building for new public defender offices, $17.9 million over the last 12 years, that particular construction firm has received in contracts. And they've given thousands of dollars to the person at the top of our county government. That's wrong. The last thing I'll say is there's a woman named Layla Ransom who, a young lady, just graduated Rhinebeck High School, or about to graduate. And she won my annual essay contest I've been doing for the last 14, 15 years. I did not dictate to her what to write about. And what she challenged me about was, Joel, you need to do what you can to bring people together in this community about the issue of gun violence. And so on July 26th, which is a Thursday at 6 p.m., I'm not just looking for the same old usual Tyner suspects, activists. I'm looking for elected Democrats, elected Republicans. There's no way that I can do a great job making an attempt to bring this community together and meet this challenge that was thrown down. She laid down the gauntlet. So, Howie, Gary, I'm not just reaching out to Republicans and Democrats in this room. I don't want it to just be, here's the Democratic position in Albany on guns, here's the Republicans. I would actually like to have us all sitting in a circle and talk about gun violence, because that's what she challenged me to do. So that's Thursday, July 26th at 6 o'clock. If that's not good for people, we can work out something else. I'm sorry I talked a little bit long. I'm at 876-2488, 464-2245.
Joe, excuse me, 2 questions. First question is on the hybrids. Did the county approve any all electric vehicles?
Sadly, no. And I think they may have last year. Last year, I spent like about, I don't know how many hours on the phone talking with car dealerships all over the country, including the Nissan Leaf guy. And I know they've been working with your office, I believe, on, was it going to be happening here or somewhere else in the village on a plug-in charging station?
In the municipal parking lot here, they've agreed to help subsidize our EV charging station by paying for the electrical installation part of that, because they wanted to establish outposts for the county to also be able to use as for electric vehicle charging stations.
I'm hoping, I've been pushing, the DEC and NYSERDA have had lots of grant opportunities, programs for years that the county DPW hasn't really made themselves aware of and applied for. So I'm hoping maybe they do that. The only other thing before I forget, this packet that I passed out of, these are the letters that I circulated. The heroin epidemic, the opiate crisis is real right here in Rhinebeck, and it was just on the front page of the Pojo 2 days ago. 14 days is not enough treatment. And so I just wanted the Chatham police chief, there's actually a woman from Rhinebeck who called me after I did that forum May 5th with the Chatham police chief, who basically takes everybody, nobody gets arrested or jailed. He gets them right into treatment right away. And this mother, her son is getting into treatment with Pete Volkman. So I just wanted to let you know that on Tuesday, the 19th, 7 o'clock at the Mental Health Building, 230 North Road, Chatham Police Chief Pete Volkman's going to be there again. And the Crisis Stabilization Center is doing good work, but they don't get people in as quickly. And there's still cops in Dutchess County that are arresting and jailing people for nonviolent drug possession, unfortunately. What was the other thing?
I had one more question, sorry. So the fund balance that the county has,
$55 million.
$55 million, they put out grant applications. The grant applications are, I assume, are part of their budget process and don't use the fund balance for the awarding of the grants, or not?
Well, I mean, I've pushed every November, December for years now, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're talking about 2 different things. For the municipalities, there's a special grant program that the county has for the municipalities, and a special grant program for the nonprofits. Both of them are ridiculously underfunded. And also, frankly, taking it out of the November, December mix really lessens the transparency, because hardly anybody knows what I just mentioned. So it's up to all of us, Mayor Bassett, to push for that funding to be upped, because the county has no excuse.
We talk about it all the time. I mean, we talk about
press
it.
Conference, rally.
Budget time all the time, and nobody, there's just not enough.
Let's do a press conference and a rally. Republicans and Democrats standing together, saying this is the 3rd year in a row of a county fund balance that's $55 million. That's literally more than triple what it was for decades.
Well, what I'm talking about is our share of it. We talk about it all the time, and it never changes. It's anemic. It's how much sales tax revenue do we generate in this village that goes to the county and the state?
I know. I asked.
And how much do we spend on policing? We wouldn't need a police station if we were in Milan. Okay, we wouldn't need all this stuff. We wouldn't need the expensive.
I just reached out to the county
big fire
budget director
department
on
we
that.
have if we didn't have the restaurants and bars in the population density. So, it's not that we're not talking about it. It's just one hand clapping.
Well, the Dutchess County Association of Mayors and Supervisors, there have been rallies and press conferences in the past that they've done. It's time to do that again. And I will help you organize that, because all the cities, towns, and villages and nonprofits are getting screwed right now, getting shafted. It's austerity on all of us that's unneeded. So I stand at the ready for that rally and that press conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing on the zoning change to allow craft workshop. So I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing and the public comment session for the allowing of the craft shop.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. So this is the public comment session we will have first. If anybody would like to come forward and talk about that, I will invite you up, but I would like to read the statement of intent so everybody's aware of what we're trying to discuss here. So the Village Board of Trustees received a request for the inclusion of a special permit use of a craft workshop as a use allowed in the medical office district. The board has reviewed the intent and purpose of the district and notes that with the expansion of the Northern Dutchess Hospital, the need for additional medical offices in the district surrounding the hospital has decreased, and the demand for such medical uses. The craft workshop definition in the village zoning code defines the use to skilled trades, and such a use would not be detrimental to the surrounding properties or other uses, which also include the special permit uses of home occupations and funeral homes. There are no significant environmental issues identified by the board with the inclusion of the use of this district. That's the intent of this public hearing. So I'm now, again, does anybody want to make public comment? Having no public comment, I'd like to make a motion to close the public comment session of the hearing for the allowable workshop.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Carried. All right, now, public hearing section of that. So now for the board, is any discussion by board members for further on this?
So what was that simple language change that you proposed?
So I did upload it. This is the code change that we looked at our May 8th meeting. Let me just open it up. Okay. And specifically, the change is adding craft workshop to the medical and profession. It's a slight modification to Table 1 of the allowable use groups chart, page 4, as it appears in our current code. And if, as everyone knows, if it's something isn't available, we have an X, and we're looking to change that X to an SP for special permit so that the proprietor of this business would be able to move her business from the existing location to this new location, which is in the medical district, one of the 4 buildings that comprise the medical district. So, long answer to the question, I apologize, but it's just that change.
And then last month, we spoke about having some limited retail use in the definition of
Right.
craft workshop.
So, correct. The day following our May 8th meeting, I did email and communicate with outside counsel, Rich Olson. Of course, I copied the members of the board and our town clerk, our village clerk, Pat Kuhn. And I summarized in that email, and I know it's from a month ago, the points that we discussed, including was there anything that would be required to include language about a peripheral part of the business being retail. And our counsel didn't suggest that there was.
Oh, okay.
The only thing I received from outside counsel was the statement of intent as read by the mayor this evening.
Well, I think our discussion was focused on it should be an ancillary part of the business. So in other words, it's not to consume the business, and the business itself is not a retail center.
Right.
The focus is that it be a craft shop, and that, when crafts are made, sometimes crafts are sold.
Right.
As part of it, but it's an ancillary function of the workshop.
And you might recall, Mr. Mayor, that the proprietor of the business who spoke publicly last month's meeting, when prompted, volunteered that maybe it's at most 10% of my business. So those ancillary sales. So that too was shared very specifically with outside counsel, again, presenting this as something that I don't want to characterize as a concern, but if this is an issue, then let the board know. And the only thing I received back from council was the statement of work. I think we're fine.
My only concern was, and I think you just satisfied it, was that if we changed the definition of craft workshop to include a limited number of retail, then I wouldn't really think it would be appropriate for that to be in the special sensitivity overlay district. But since we're not, then I'm comfortable
We're
with
not,
it.
right.
Yeah.
So I would hope that the board would accept the change, particularly since we've had the public hearing and we've reviewed it with council. And I would probably be the one that would move forward and make the change, submit it to the village clerk for Albany, upstate, and then ultimately entered into RE code.
So just so everyone knows, it's already a special permit in Village Center, in Gateway Business. So all we're doing is adding that to the medical and professional district, which
Good
is sort of
point,
like those
right.
other districts in nature. Well,
Right.
not Village Center, because that's more dense, but.
And this was kind of punted back to us by the planning board, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
So the planning board is aware of what we're doing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Howie, absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Good point. Yes, they're familiar and supportive.
Right,
Yeah, the
Supportive.
planning board had
Yes.
no objections.
Yeah.
right.
Actually, this proposal was a development out of the planning board.
Right.
So you're correct, and for the record, this planning board is supportive of our efforts here tonight.
The point is, it doesn't seem like much of it's already a commercial zone. It's not really intense, it doesn't change the intensity of the use by any means. It seems to fit, I think, within the character of the use that was already there. Basically, people coming and going throughout the day. And with the parking, there's already parking there. So
Right.
I think it fits in that area.
And the key component was the retail.
Right, whether that was,
Right.
how important that was, right?
And I think as we all agreed when we were together with the proprietor and more importantly, the building owner last month, that this is a business that's been in the community for 11, 12 years, and we want to do whatever we can, and I think, and stay in compliance with our own rules and code, and I think it's a win-win.
Well, we're trying to do it to develop further other businesses as well. It's not specific.
Right, to anyone, correct.
So any other discussion? All right, this time I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So carried. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the use of craft workshops as a special permitted use in the medical professional section of our village of Rhinebeck.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Very good, thank you. Next on the agenda, if we go into what we call well, now, let me back up a second, because we were supposed to have another public hearing tonight on a stop sign on Carolina Drive and Will Tremper Drive. And I'll discuss that a little bit more in detail, but that public hearing is going to be put on hold. We needed lengthier time to develop the law with the vehicle and traffic law to be able to have that law to reside in public forum for at least 10 days. The law didn't get developed in enough time for the 10 days to allow that, so we will need to reschedule the public hearing for the stop sign on Carolina and Will Tremper, okay? Because that was discussed last month at our meeting, that we would have the public hearing this month, and that will have to be postponed because of the development of the law. The next part of the agenda is the public comment section. Is there anybody here that would like to have public comment? I'd like to keep this up front because people like to not have to stay through the whole meeting. Having no public comments, we'll move on to department reports. The treasury report.
Okay, good evening. The treasurer's report for the village is for the period ending May 31st. The tax collector's account, those funds have been transferred to the general fund and is zeroed out for the new tax collection period. The general fund ended the month with $345,268.03. The water fund ended the month with $398,145.23. The sewer ended the month with $338,458.65. Our investments in New York class in the general water and sewer department are yielding well and doing very good. The vouchers, including the vouchers from the last fiscal year ending May 31st and through June 12th, in the general fund, total $57,726.25. In the water fund, they total $9,275.49. In the sewer fund, $8,917.71. There is a capital community block grant bill to be paid for Legion Park in the amount of $2,229.75, and an escrow bill in the amount of $2,347.78. An operating statement has been provided with expenditures through May 31st, and that is a separate operating statement from the one that has also been uploaded that covers the new fiscal year through June 12th. The water and wastewater adjustments have been reviewed and signed off by the Water and Wastewater Department liaisons and are presented for authorization.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the wastewater adjustments as presented.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you.
I'd like to accept the water adjustments as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? I'd like to make a motion to accept the amendments to the budget as clarified by our treasurer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Karen, I may have missed it when you went over it, but the capital transfer.
So the capital transfers for the adopted 17-18 budget, amounts were funded and transferred to the capital as follows. In the capital fire, $50,000. The capital streets, $7,500. Capital police, $7,500. Capital parks and rec, $10,000. The capital sidewalks, $15,000. The capital water fund is $82,506.38, and the capital sewer fund, $41,546. We also received a prior year payment from FEMA in the amount of $12,000, and it was recommended to maybe split that between the capital and the police and the capital and the streets, because it was in the last year's budget. So if the board would like to do that with those funds, as opposed to having it just roll over into fund balance in the general fund, we can kind of pull that out and
Was that-
specify it.
Was that from the dam repair from several years ago, or?
It is from the March storm of,
Stella.
from Storm Stella, yeah,
Storm Stella.
Blizzard Stella.
Still,
Yeah.
It was like 2016,
No, it was 2017, wasn't it?
was it 20?
I think it was 27.
Okay.
Well, I think it was
It just
2017.
feels like I've been
I
working on
know.
it for 2
We
years.
just fighting for the money for a long time.
Oh, we have
FEMA
been,
funds.
for sure.
So I would like to have a discussion about that capital transfer of those funds as to where the board would like them to go. There, as our treasurer suggested, there's many possibilities, but the two possibilities that we discussed was to put it into the fund balance, or the second was to put it into the capital fund balances for like fire and police specifically. It was those two, right, Karen? Fire and police?
Police and streets.
Police and streets. Not fire. I thought it was fire, police. Yeah, okay, but we can decide,
You can decide.
whatever. So what would We're always, my point is, we're always looking to beef up our capital,
Exactly, so.
because we always have expenses.
Why don't we split it into the three departments, those three departments? Fire, police, and streets. Water and sewer are self-funded, so.
Correct.
Yeah, we can't do,
Yeah.
You want me to divide it into three and do that?
And what would the amount be?
It would be about 400, or about 4,000
Each,
in each.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have a question. Is that money better off going into, I would, maybe not fire? Sorry, Carl. Sorry. Just because we know we have to buy, we're on such a schedule to buy new police cars, and, you know, we need to fund that much more rapidly, but we have a new truck. I'm not sure that we're anticipating buying another truck for a while. So I know that we have higher turnover in police cars.
I'm going to defend the fire a little bit,
Fine,
because we have, besides a big expenditure like $450,000 for a truck, there's a lot of capital expenditures that need for equipment,
Okay,
like SCBA's, respirators,
fair enough. I wasn't thinking about that.
yes,
Okay,
that we
Makes-
would use capital funds for
okay,
as well.
got it.
Is that any other discussion about?
so we could just split it three ways.
Yeah, that's a good, very good
All right.
suggestion.
So I would like to make a motion that we split the FEMA Stella money into three equal buckets for fire, police, and street. Be added to the capital accounts.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Very good. Good move. Thank you. Next on the agenda, it was police and court. Let me just get to there quickly. Apologize. Slight delay here. I don't have police and court yet. There, sorry, it's out of order. For the month of May, total number of incidents in the town was 21. Total number of incidents in the village was 150. Total tickets for the town was 26. Total tickets for the village, 51. Total number of arrests were 4. Total number of accidents was 10. I'd also like to make note that we've made significant use of our speed trailer in the last month. There's been several requests to some speeds in particular zones. So we set up the speed zone. The speed trailer was set up on Mill Street and Asher Road on May 12th from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and during the Fit Feet Marathon. Total cars was 865. The average speed was 37 mile per hour. Total number of vehicles above 30 mile per hour speed limit was 763. The majority of the vehicles traveled between 31 and 40. So that was definitely a notice of concern. We also set the speed trailer up on South Street from 518 from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. in response to the complaints about speeders. Total number of cars on South Street was 399. Average speed was 26 mile per hour. Total number of vehicles above the 30 mile per hour speed limit was 87. Majority of vehicles traveled between 1 and 30 mile per hour. 19 vehicles of the 399 traveled at a speed greater than 35. Also, on the speed trailer was set up on Norwood Road on 531 from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. Total number of cars was 318. Average speed was 23 mile per hour. Total number of vehicles above the 30 mile per hour speed limit was 83. The majority of the vehicles traveled between 16 mile per hour and 30 mile per hour. 12 vehicles of the 318 traveled at a speed greater than 30 mile per hour. The highest rate of speed recorded was 33 mile per hour. So we're trying to do our best with our police to enforce speed on the village street, and making use of the speed trailer to let people know, and publicizing this information is useful for everybody, and it also is useful for us. So any questions about the police report? On the board? Very good, thank you. Next on the agenda, is the fire department, and Chief Kyle Amy is here this evening. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you.
Would you like to come up and talk about the fire department?
Sure. You want to do the numbers quick?
I can do that. Well, why don't you, let me get, yeah, I've got it up. You're there in a second. This is for the month of May of 2018. There were a total of 101 alarms for the fire department. 22 of those were fire, 73 EMS, 6 motor vehicle accidents. Right. Our numbers keep climbing, Chief.
Yes, they do. Good evening, Mayor, Village Board, and Karen. Couple things. Tonight we have 2 members on the board to be approved as new members of the Rhinebeck Fire Department. One is Bob Barrero. Bob is an older gentleman with previous experience in the fire service and is from Long Island. He's interested in assisting with fire police and also assisting with some administrative duties as far as filing. So we believe that he can be an asset as well to help out with some of the more behind-the-scenes stuff without running into a burning building. The next one is that it's on the floor for is Tina Lamonica. Is a Navy vet who is very eager to give back to the community, and she is interested in becoming EMT and serving in the rescue squad. So obviously with the numbers that we see that keep growing, especially with the EMS calls, having additional resources to assist with that would be great. So again, it's our recommendation as well is that they be approved by the board and become members. Some other news we've got is that I'll give you a little briefing here. Sandy Williams, owner of Williams Lumber, has served as County Car 11 in Battalion 1. And what that title is that the county is set up in 7 different battalions. And there's a coordinator, a deputy coordinator in each battalion. And they act as the go-between to the county, which means is that large-scale fires, auto accidents, any kind of large-scale emergency, they come to the scene, they report to the incident command, and we ask them for resources. As far as if we need a bulldozer, they go out and they find it. They assist with us to make our job easier so we don't have to lose ourselves on operation, and also is a liaison to the departments in Battalion 1, which consists of 8 departments, of getting training up here and getting what we need to be able to keep our operation functioning correctly and working on that. So again, Sandy Williams, 47 years, is stepping down July 1st. And we're, can't say enough of what Sandy has done, not only for this community, also a member of the Rhinebeck Fire Department, what he's done for 47 years at the county. So we appreciate that. So starting July 1st, we are announcing that Darren Forbes has been chosen for that position. The sad thing is that Darren will have to give up his position as assistant chief for that due to conflict and wants to keep everything separate. Darren takes this position with 38 years in the department, starting with Hillside when he joined in 1981. Darren and Hillside also went through the ranks as lieutenant, captain, assistant chiefs, and served as chief. In 2011, Darren joined here and was appointed in 2013 as an assistant chief, where he holds that title to this day. Darren also is retired from the New York State Police, where he served for 27 years. 7 years as a trooper on the road, 10 years as an investigator, and 10 years as a uniformed sergeant. So we're sorry to see Darren leave, but we're also very pleased for Darren's next step and next adventure. And we're also looking very forward to working with Darren as our new County Car 11.
So, in case not everybody knows, this appointment is made by the county.
That is made by the county, correct?
Right. It's not made by...
There was an interview process and, just a regular
Selection.
applying for a job.
Right. Right. So there was a process that the county conducts. They take recommendations from the fire departments. I'm not sure if everybody knows who's all in Battalion 1.
Battalion 1 consists of Rhinebeck, I gotta put the map in my, Rhinebeck, Rhinecliff, Red Hook, Tivoli, Myland, West Clinton, Hillside, and Statsburg. That's who's in Battalion 1.
Is Statsburg still there as part of, but they're part of Roosevelt now? Is
Yes,
Statsburg
but
still?
the hamlet is staying part of Battalion 1.
Okay.
because that will be as a substation to Roosevelt. So that was all just worked out probably about a month and a half ago, that they want to continue serving with Battalion 1 and plus with the training association.
I think this is important for everybody to know how our fire protection services are covered
Yep.
within our own village, but also within the broader scope of the town and the surrounding municipalities.
Yes.
So thank you. Before you go, I'd like to make a motion to approve both Bob and Tina as new members for the Rhinebeck Fire Department.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? So carried. Just as a side note, I've asked Chief Amy that going forward, what we would like to do, I think it's in the best interest of the board and for the public to have new members, when we're voting on them, come to the board meeting, and so that we can meet them and
Welcome them.
you guys, and welcome them and get to know them as the fire department does. So going forward, we'll be
Yes.
conducting that as part of our normal business for new members,
Yep,
correct, Chief?
great idea by the mayor.
Yep. And so I would like to thank Sandy Williams publicly for his 47 years of Battalion 1 as Battalion 1 commander. That's a valuable position within the county and within our battalion that serves. It really is a great resource for all of us, and we're excited now moving forward to have one of our own members, Darren Forbes, be the Battalion 1 commander. So thank you to Sandy and welcome to Darren.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, building, planning, and zoning. Trustee Rossi,
Yes.
you have a lot.
Yes, right. So there's 5 specific items, Mr. Mayor and Village Board. I think that I'll start with the sign for the farmer's market. And I might mention that we have someone representing the farmer's market tonight, Ms. Palmer. Just in the event that there's some questions that the board may have that I can't answer, although I'll do the best that I can. So a quick background, of course, I think everyone knows that probably a few months ago, the farmer's market I approached, I think it was our board originally, with the idea of a sign that would be mounted on, all right?
Wow.
Yes. And this actually is not the original version that was submitted. And the village board rightfully said, look, we really can't make a decision about the size and the scale and everything that would fall under the jurisdiction of the planning board. And it went to the planning board. Of course, as a liaison, I'm at those meetings. And the first review wasn't everything that the planning board was looking for. And to the credit of the farmer's market, they came back. I've got some hard copies I'm just going to pass, starting with Grant. And of course, the soft copy loaded up in the cloud. At the last planning board meeting, representatives from the farmer's market presented the version that the mayor has behind me, and it was fully accepted unanimously. And the planning board said, look, we should really just send it back to the village board, and because we're comfortable with the sign itself, but the other item that we need to consider is the mounting of this. The intended location is the shed in a municipal lot, and the shed belongs to the farmer's market, but the shed, of course, resides on village property. I did reach out, as the mayor had suggested, to both our zoning enforcement officer and legal counsel to make certain that we had the legal standing to do this, and we do. In fact, we might be reminded that in 2015, a contract was negotiated and executed by both the representatives of the former administration for the village and the farmer's market. That's a 5-year agreement. And a portion of that contract, Section 6, includes language about signage, and Section 12 talks about the shed. So we certainly have the legal standing to do this. And of course, the desire of the farmer's market is that we would approve the mounting and posting of the sign on the shed and for the entire 12 months, the entire calendar year. And that's what I think ultimately what we have to discuss, Mr. Mayor, is the board in agreement that the sign should go up? And would it be in agreement that the sign would be up permanently, throughout the entire calendar year?
So at this time, I'd like to open it up for discussion amongst the board for comments. Because we did, as Trustee Rossi mentioned, did take this to the planning board because it came in front of us, and the planning board came back and then gave it back to us. There was one of the legal portion of that, which council weighed in on, was it's municipal property. The shed belongs to the
market.
farmer's market. But is there a sign, is there any legal precedence of putting a sign on the municipal property on a shed that's owned by the farmer's market? And the response was, we're okay.
We're okay.
It's fine to do
Right.
that from a legal standpoint.
Mr. Mayor, we will have to modify, assuming that the board agrees, we will have to modify the existing 2015 contract to incorporate into Section 6 one more bullet regarding the mounting of the sign. So I will say that I'm supportive of this. The farmers market feels that this would be of value to them. The idea, the genesis behind this, as I understand it, was it would be a form of awareness. There still seems to be people unaware that there is a farmers market in a municipal lot, and I guess it's fair to say it's a form of advertising and marketing, and it would be a particular value to have up throughout the entire year from the advantage of the farmers market to make people aware that, hey, there's a farmers market here made in November in the village.
So I do have a comment though, because on the sign, if you can see it, it says open all year. The farmer's market is in our municipal lot from Mother's Day till November, but then it goes to the town building where it has its winter season. So it's not open all year in a municipal lot. So to me, it was a little bit confusing to hear say it's all year and then say May 13th to November 18th.
Well, I think it says, the references the outdoor market.
Right. But
Yes.
there's no reference to then an indoor market. So my only thought was maybe it should only not be up the full time of year, but be up, when the winter season ends, and then during the time of the craft, during the time of the farmer's market, and then when the winter season starts, to change it back, to not have the sign up on the shed, because it could be removable.
I would say once you put it up, leave it up. I guess people like to know when it opens, when it's going to close. It's information. Is the shed currently red? Is it also a bar color? No.
It's a wood shed.
Wood shed, okay.
Looks like wood.
All right.
And what about the dates? They're going to change the dates every year?
Well, yes, you can do that. And,
Do we want to invite Ms. Palmer up to the?
Yeah, please come up.
one of the other thoughts we
You'll have to,
had,
I'm sorry, I think you have to provide your name and address to
Yeah,
the.
you sit at the microphone, please, so we can pick you up.
okay, here I am. Gina Palmer. I live in the town of Clinton Corners, and I'm the graphic designer for the Rhinebeck Farmers Market. And, well, our initial intention to sort of address that point was that if we did have permission to have a sign there all year, we could change it to say indoor market, and then change it for the dates of the spring. Have everything exactly the same, because we did redesign our logo a couple of years ago to just be more inclusive and advertise the fact that we had a year-round market. So our logo says year-round, and then we're at the suggestion of the planning board last meeting. They felt like there was a lot of information going on the sign, and they suggested that we break it out, that we make the logo larger. So we reconfigured the sign from 3x10 to a 4-foot high sign so that our logo would be a little more prominent. I don't think it was ever really our intent to see the sign from the street, but since there's so much foot traffic and parking traffic in those parking lots, we felt that since our shed was there, that it would be a good way to just announce ourselves throughout the year and let people know. In the past, maybe like 28 years ago, we're going to be a our 30-year anniversary is coming up next year. We used to have a banner that hung over Market Street, sort of down by the M&T Bank, that Central Hudson used to put up, and various organizations could design banners, and they would put them up and take them down, and that was really probably our only permanent signage that we had for that season. Since then, of course, social media has evolved, so much of our marketing and communication is on social media, but we thought that since we had this shed, it might be a good opportunity to communicate.
Don't we have the pole banners now, the little ones?
We have those for the winter market, yeah. We have 3 locations for that stay up only during the winter market.
Why did we not do that for the spring market now?
I think my recollection was that because we do have other signage that we put up temporarily on the day of the market, but I think we were only approved for winter on a rotating basis, because I think that the availability of those spots was rotated through many organizations.
Yeah.
I think that's what we started with, when we made the proposal
Those
for.
change.
So I guess, excuse me, Howard brought up a good point. You're going to have to repaint the sign every year to change the dates, or how are you going to handle that?
Well, it's a metal sign with a high-density vinyl kind of surface on it, so that just gets changed. In the same way that our sandwich boards and our informational materials for the market get changed, so it's not, extremely expensive. Dutchess Signs works with us, and we usually change out our sponsors each year as they change, and dates for things, and clean up our signs our sandwich boards that we put in the market. So the rest of our advertising is pretty generic, so it doesn't include dates, like our big banner that just goes up on the day of the market. So it's kind of like peel one off, put another one on.
Okay. My only concern would be keeping the appearance of the sign, so it doesn't.
Yeah, and that was something that came up also, but I think that we'd be happy to make sure that everything, I think the vinyl signs that we have at the market right now, the sandwich boards, do well for the whole season. Obviously, they're only out on the day of the market, but even the materials, the vinyl, heavy-duty vinyl materials that people have up, a lot of signage is made that way now. It's not necessarily permanently painted or permanently carved in wood, but there's a lot of technology that makes signage very durable and affordable.
Well, thank you for clearing up my confusion about the date, so that was very good, so thank you.
Okay.
I understand it better.
All right, thank you.
Can I make a few suggestions?
Sure.
Since you can change it, why don't you put indoor market there for the winter, and put the dates for that. And on the bottom where it says Rhinebeck Municipal, put Rhinebeck Town Hall.
I think that would be a great proposal if everyone's in agreement that it would be okay for us to switch it out. That would be lovely.
I do a lot of advertising for beer signs, so it's always good to be, this is kind of confusing, like I agree with you. It's
Yeah.
kind of confusing because it says open all year, then it has outdoor market and
Right.
only those dates, but if you can change it,
Right, originally, we had everything in one, so we
Yeah.
kind of broke it out. And we decided that it would be better to separate the 2 seasons, make each one a little bit clearer, and a little more, a little larger and a little more visible. We also use this format for our advertising at the theater at Upstate. We have our part of the slide advertising there, so we do change that a couple of times a year also, so it works out really well
So-
for us.
Should we approve each sign separately since they change? I don't know, I have no idea what the proper,
I think we can change it as an amendment.
okay. I mean, I've no, just to make it more flexible.
Any other discussion?
No,
I wasn't crazy about this, but I didn't realize you don't have the banners on the poles anymore.
Yeah, only in the winter season, yeah. And I think
So
they
I
go up
might
in the end of
redo it.
November.
Mike?
when are you going to let us know?
Soon.
I'll go last. We
Hey,
can put a condition there that it's, well-maintained and quality craftsmanship or something.
All right, if there's any other discussion, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the farmer's market sign for all year on a provision that it can be amended to be able to adjust to the indoor market with the appropriate dates and appropriate location for when it changes from outdoor to indoor into the indoor market. All right.
Thank you.
And that it be maintained in a,
Oh,
And quality,
and, all right, I'll amend it to saying that it be maintained in a quality manner.
And to that point, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, and Gene, I know you, Ms. Palmer, you weren't at the planning board meeting, but the planning board did assert to the representatives from the farmers market that the village board would be able to require any changes, you know, including if for some reason it wasn't maintained, we are empowered to have it removed. So,
well, I was gonna say, can we try this, can we just approve for on an annual for 1 year, and just, we'll see how the program works, and then,
I agree to that.
You want to amend it?
yeah,
Yeah.
to include a 1-year approval.
Okay.
And then probably we wouldn't care, but, I mean, if it's
Good
really
way to
nice and it's an asset, then we'd all be happy to,
Excellent.
yeah.
When would you, I guess, well, since we're still back into discussion, when would the sign go up?
Now
Next
that we have
season, or is
approval.
it, would be this season yet?
I think we could do it for this season. I think we're sort of on board to finish out the market since we are going to be going until Thanksgiving, and then have another one ready to put up when we switch to indoors, which would be awesome.
good.
Thank you.
All right, so do we have a second to the motion? Has it been amended to be a 1 year?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Thank you so
Very good.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next on the agenda. Mr. Rossi.
So, let me go through these two quickly, Mr. Mayor, because they shouldn't take too much time. There's been included for all the trustees in the cloud is the fees from the Village of Rhinebeck, and I don't think I need to go through them. It's there for everyone. But these are the fees that zoning enforcement Penton presented. If you recall, I think it was 2 meetings ago, March or April. I don't know that we have to do anything other than,
Well, we have to adopt them based on any discussion associated with them.
Do we, don't we annually adopt our fee schedules?
We do. At the organization meeting, we adopted the fee schedule, but that was at the time when I introduced the new fee schedule to be, as a potential to be revised. And introduced it to the board at that time for revision, and now I'm bringing it back because I would really like to bring us into the standard where we're somewhat compatible with the municipalities around us. And this is not based on just our
Right.
zoning enforcement officer sitting down at the table. This is based on collective information from all the municipalities around us, and then I've seen how we applied. And we were not terribly out of line, but we were somewhat out of line in terms of some of the fees. There is a new fee, though, that is being requested, which is the recreational fee. And I think you all have a hard copy in front of you on your recreation fee. And our zoning enforcement officer has added this to the fees, which was not part of the original fee. So this is new. I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. That is part of a land development process. A municipality may require the developer to dedicate land to the municipality for park and recreations, called public dedication in the state's municipalities planning code. Professional planners often do this. You often call this tool mandatory dedication. At its dedication, a municipality may approve to the developer the option to choose one or more alternatives to public dedication. However, a municipality may not mandate these alternatives, which are as follows: to pay a fee to the municipality, construct recreational facilities, or privately reserved land. But the municipality may use dedicated land and fees collected only for providing, acquiring, operating, and maintaining park and recreational facilities. So I think what's key is what their zoning enforcement officer and our DPW in this case is saying that our parks cost us money to maintain and to keep up and make it usable for all of the public. And that a fee associated with that added to it, which was $3,000 for new construction, would be added to the fee schedule. I've included a copy of the 2015-2016 fee schedule, when it was adopted and hasn't been changed since the 2015, and the new 2018 proposed fee schedule.
Okay, I have some questions about the recreation fee. Does this apply to every construction project in the
Yeah.
village? Is this if somebody buys a plot of land, who, it says developer, but I'm unclear about what the definition of the
It
developer
says
is.
it was for new construction per dwelling. So my interpretation of that was if you built a new home in the village, that would be the fee.
$3,000?
There's that.
That was the proposal from our DPW.
In addition to all these other fees?
Right.
And it costs a lot of money to close a transaction in New York State, require everyone's lining up, recording fees, county's
I
got
agree.
recording fees, the state's got recording fees.
I didn't say I was in favor of it. I'm just
Yeah.
You got
presenting,
mortgage fees.
presenting the data here.
That's
mortgage-
exactly what I told
Mortgage
John
tax.
today.
Yeah, I mean, I could see,
These other things I can see,
Yes.
but
yeah. Or I don't know if there's a way to make this applicable to large developments, but to add
Yeah.
another fee to a single-family home or a two-family home in the village just seems like piling on.
I also challenged it, so I think it seems from the board that we're all in agreement that the recreational fee of $3,000 per dwelling is over the top for us for right now.
Right.
so already then the new construction of a residential building is proposed to be up 5 cents a foot. Construction of a commercial building has been increased by 11 cents a foot. All other specialized permits have been increased between $25 and $50, depending on the demand and additional field inspections. So I think I'm satisfied with the other fees, I think, personally.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the other fees?
Well, what about operating permits? I know it's already in our fee schedule. Is that for like, if somebody has a party of 99 people? I think I asked him when he was here at the meeting that one time.
Yes, this has already was already in our fee schedule in 2015. It was $325, $400, $750, and up to $1,000. It was part of the regular fee schedule. That's already part of the plan, part of the fees.
That hasn't changed at all.
No, that was consistent, that's the same.
Well, is this discussion?
Yeah, this is
Oh, I'm
discussion,
voting
yeah.
no, because I'm not in favor of raising any fees. I think it's just like,
We're not
kind of what you
voting
said, it's piling on, it keeps piling on and piling on.
One of the issues, though, is we have to cover our costs of processing
Right,
these fees.
but I don't see any evidence of that, though. I think this is just thrown out there just to raise fees.
Any other discussion?
Figure out something here. God, come on. So it's like for a 1,500 square foot house, it'd be another $75. Commercial building's about twice that. So,
Which it was. Having no other comments, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the proposed 2018-2019 fees minus the recreational fee of $3,000 to not include. Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second it, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Vote cast 3-2. So carried. Thank you. Next, John.
We have a revised assessor's office application, or form, I'm sorry, that our planning clerk, Ryan Dowden, circulated to myself and members of the planning board. There was some confusion that individuals that would receive this from the assessor's office, see town of Rhinebeck, not realize that the town of Rhinebeck assessor also was doing assessments for the village of Rhinebeck. And so that's why in the letterhead, it's just a simple modification to hopefully make this clearer. That's how it was explained to me, and certainly seemed logical. And I truly don't think we have to do anything other than just we want the village board to be aware that this slight change has taken place.
So what you're saying is we're kind of adopting a standard form,
Well, the form is the same,
the town
yes.
form.
Right, but the clarification is to make certain that people realize that it's town/village of Rhinebeck Assessor's Office.
And just for clarification, has this gone through our office here, the zoning and planning office, and they've had a chance to look at it and agree?
I don't,
You know, that's,
I don't know if we have the authority over this because it's assessor.
Do we?
But-
If it's a town, so they're
Yeah.
the assessor.
Since we delegated that
I-
to Jason. But
I can say that it wasn't, it certainly hasn't been discussed at any of the planning board meetings, but I know that the chair was copied
Yeah.
and aware of it.
And I know that our planning department has seen this and agreed to it, so.
Yeah,
Part of the initial discussion.
And I think Brant's correct that we really don't have
Okay,
jurisdiction, just
so it becomes information for us.
good information.
Okay.
And hopefully marginalizes some of the confusion that was out there. I've got two remaining items. I think that the board is aware that we did send out a public notice looking for an alternate if we had any residents that had the desire and the requisite background. And in fact, I'm sharing with the board tonight, and I think I may have circulated the resume earlier, a gentleman, Christopher Taverner. And Christopher, as you can see from his resume, which is posted both in the cloud and I'm recalling I did send it to everyone, tremendous experience and background, would be excellent as a zoning board alternate if in the event that he was required. So besides having the interest and the extraordinary credentials, planning clerk Ryan Dowden and myself met with Mr. Taverner. We interviewed him for about 45 minutes, and I feel very strongly that he would be a wonderful candidate, and looking for the board support this evening to give Mr. Taverner the thumbs up.
He's my next door neighbor.
What?
Next door neighbor, and he's a very well-spoken, thoughtful gentleman, and they're doing a beautiful job with their property. So, that's all I have to say.
So I was hoping we could make a motion to accept Mr. Taverner as the alternate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried.
This is now my last item, and I'm wondering, Mr. Mayor, if you can, it's in the cloud, is there any way you can present this up on the screen?
Which one is it?
This is the document submitted to us by John Clark from the planning board regarding the municipal lot. I do have it in the cloud.
I have it up.
Terrific. Okay.
You might want to go up and point to it if you could, John.
Quick background on this is the planning board, like the village board, very aware of the issues that we are confronted with in terms of parking, specifically the limits that we have on parking. And as new businesses come in and submit themselves before the planning board, I think as all the members of the village board know, new businesses must be able to provide additional parking spots. We actually, through Brandt's efforts, changed the code last year this time so that there's no longer the ability to pay in lieu of parking spots. Suffice it to say, we have issues of parking, and this board, of course, has pursued a couple different possibilities, and John Clark from the planning board volunteered to put something together, and John's suggestion for our consideration is to retool the existing municipal lot. And specifically, what would be the major change, instead of having one entrance, that would be the east entrance driveway into the parking lot, and on the west side of the parking lot an exit, we could make this a dual entry and exit point. And in doing so, close up the other driveway on the west end of the parking lot. And John's recommendation that we put some sort of a structure here, let's just put that on the side for the moment. And as John's notes indicate, the single two-way access on the east side would provide 6 additional on-street spaces. John's recommendation is that we have a corner building. We can hold that in conversation on that for the moment. The upper level shed adds 2 more spaces, 7 new spaces behind the courtyard. John's done a very good job of designating where the new spots are. So it was shared with myself. I've shared it with the zoning, of course, the zoning enforcement officers of Fenton. I've shared it with the mayor and was anxious to share it with the village board. In the first gauge, the village, the board's reaction, thoughts, and if it's something that we'd like to move forward on, the trajectory forward, in my mind, all the trustees know, Mr. Mayor, and yourself, we're in the midst of an opportunity, a window for filing for grants. This is something that we could certainly add in that process, and by going through that process, it would require us to advance in more detail the scale and reality of John's suggestion. So I'll leave it at that and see what what the board has to say.
I would just like to say that, this is a ramification of the committee that we formed in terms of parking and looking for alternative and different places where we can improve parking within the village. So this, as a discussion of going I was with Trustee Rossi when we originally talked about alternative parking, and the recommendation, which one of the things they talked about was the municipal parking lot as also one of those alternatives to add additional parking spaces.
Can I go up there?
Yes?
Yeah.
You guys know the ownership history of this? Of these 2 pieces here?
I do not know.
Yeah, because I think it's privately owned. Do you know how it is?
Yeah, it's privately owned between Joe Kurthois and Connie Bathrick, I believe.
Well, these parcels probably are privately owned, but also this access point is.
It's very murky, that whole back
We don't
road.
own this access, I don't believe.
It's between the bank, Joe
And-
Kurthois and Connie.
Yeah, it's really,
It's kind of murky, and I don't know if they ever got it resolved. They have tried to get it resolved on their own, but
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, it could be investigated, like, I mean, are they proposing to condemn? To do a, take this land, do a taking and take that land, or?
This is absolutely new information, I think, to both the mayor and I, that property may not be
Village property.
village
I
property.
don't think it is.
no.
Yeah, there's a dumpster on it back there, or a garbage, isn't that where the
There is,
garbage?
yep.
The garbage,
Yeah, I
Yep.
think so.
So are you proposing to put parking spots back there? Was that part of the proposal?
That was part of John's proposal. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That was,
Yeah.
I mean, we should look into it, but
Yeah, the notion of the structure, I'm presuming is that because that would be more aesthetically appealing as you enter into the village, to have a structure there. But of course, that could be potentially more parking spots.
I thought you were saying you
sure,
wanted,
this could be, 4 parks right here.
that's what I thought you were talking
5.
about.
No.
Instead of a building.
Yeah, putting parking there.
this is a proposal.
No, I know. But yeah, no, that back lot is privately owned. You can look it up. I mean, maybe we can look it up.
I know that John Clark doesn't like to see cars, so, I mean, I'm guessing
Yes.
We could put hedges maybe, or if that's closed off, we could,
Crib of green.
yeah, we can put some shrubs up here. or
The-
something, and then-
The one question I have is we do have an ongoing bathroom problem with the amount of tourism that we have and, you know, the volume we're coming through. And while I understand the idea, like, let's be nice to pick up the parking spots, is putting in like a municipal bathroom, although I realize that like now we have to maintain it, it adds a enormous, where would you want to? It would go in this, in that space.
As part of the discussions we've been having was exactly that, was to see if we could add municipal bathrooms into that structure for the village. And there's a sewer hookup not too far from there, on the same side of the street. The only question we didn't know about was a water hookup.
Because, I mean, I do hear from merchants that there's a fair amount of pressure
Yes.
from
Yeah.
patrons and non-patrons to use the bathrooms in the
Yep.
village, and so.
The
that would
planning
be-
board actually liked the idea of bathrooms there. We just weren't far enough along in the discussion to say that's a proposal yet. I think we have a lot of detail to work out. The concept here is not to resolve this tonight, it was just to say, here's an idea in terms of, one of the ideas for increasing parking, even though it's a few, to add additional parking wherever possible.
Well, it's 15 or so, you know?
And according to our DPW, we already have an existing approved permit for us to close the lower entrance, and that we have with the state that's on file. So we don't need to go through the permitting process for that.
And there's enough room in that one entrance for exit and enter? I know that,
It says, what he's saying there, we need 24 feet.
Yeah.
So I don't know what
We'd
the
have
actual
to-
measurement, but we need 24 feet.
And are you gonna lose those 3 spots right there by the entrance? I mean, I don't wanna micromanage it,
No,
but.
but we may have to encroach upon the hedges that right now serve as a buff to the entrance on the east side.
I think the essence of time was just to present the idea, not to really try to come up with any conclusion, but the fact that we're looking at trying to do parking.
well,
Okay?
It certainly, I don't want to suggest that it would be dependent on a grant, because we do have some funds for the parking lot fund. I don't know what this represents in the way of cost.
I think we have to go investigate whether the property that's there, before we
Right.
come back. So I would like to table this for now and go on and move on to
Yeah.
the rest, but just to get the idea in front of you guys.
Right.
Okay?
And that's it for planning and
That's it?
zoning.
The reason why I can't stick downstairs, 'cause now
Highway
there's
Department.
Right there.
Yeah, there are, sorry, just still managing the, okay, pretty busy highway department report as well. So we'll start off with the jobs completed during June of 2018. There has been continuous brush pickup. It seems like this year there's been a lot of brush that's gone on the street. Not sure if that's because of storms and such. I would remind people that grass clippings are not accepted ever. So please do not put your grass cuttings on the street. They will not be picked up. That's a DEC rule, apparently. The department's also been doing sign repairs and installations around the village, park maintenance, mowing, weed whacking, et cetera. Some roadside tree removal and garbage from storm drains. Basically, stuff gets flushed in, they have to pull it back out. And they've been doing some preparation for some new blacktopping, and also they've done some cold patching along the way. There are 3 other items that I'd like to discuss with the board. So the first is paving for the year. Initially, we were talking about paving the 2 crossmoors, Violet and North Park. And the initial idea was to work with the town to do this. However, that's run into a snag, And the snag is that the town owns a rather small paver, which really isn't very good for doing big jobs such as our streets. The town does have an intermunicipal agreement with several other towns for a shared services paver. And the question became, can the town use the shared services paver for a village job? Now, I know the mayor went up to the county executive's office or
No, not yet.
not yet, okay. But the initial response we got from the county was no, surprisingly. The county, which is always telling us that we need to share services left and right, basically said no, the town can't use the shared services paver to pave village roads, which was a little surprising. So the mayor, I think, is going to be speaking to the county executive, or at least his office.
Myself and the town supervisor, we're going to try to get this resolved. Yes.
And just to review, we had approved a total of $85,000 for our paving budget for this year. If you look at the town proposal, it comes in just over that. We had the highway department investigate other private contractors, and the private contractors came in at over $100,000, the lowest being $102,000. So we're working on getting this paver situation ironed out to see if we can see if it's available to us. And then we're going to have to discuss scope, if we want to cut back or what we want to do. I did receive from Karen today just a review of the paving monies that we've received from the state, which are conveniently buried here. So basically, we had allocated, or we'd estimated that we would get $50,000 in CHIPS money, which is the state contribution, and we were going to put another $35,000 in from the village budget. The state actually came through with $54,000. We have actually in our CHIPS account with the state, there was an additional sum of $38,000, which was with the state. So we have a total of $93,000 available to us for CHIPS money. There's also some additional money. There's a program called Pave New York, which is also would give us another approximately $12,500, and an emergency weather response grant, or not grant, but allocation, which is just shy of $10,000. So basically, all of these are available to do street work and other maintenance projects. So on our account with the state, if you want to say so, we have about $115,000 on account with the state for paving and other street projects. And we've allocated another $35,000. And it's not to say that we should spend all this at once and that there was a procedure to roll it over. But if we have to we can either do two things. We can either cut back the amount of paving that we're going to do this year, or we can do the amount of paving and we're going to have to dip into these funds a little bit more strongly or another place.
If we don't get the town.
If we don't get the town, well, even if we do the town, we're a little bit over. I just wanted to give you an update on what's happening. The highway department did speak to the low bidder about their availability through the summer. We do need to get an answer sooner than later from the county about whether the paver is going to be available, because it's paving season. But until we resolve this issue, we're a little stuck. It's a little surprising from the county's point of view that they've been pushing municipal cooperation, and here we have a chance to do it and save some money, and they seem to have thrown a roadblock.
What is the date that I need to get that decision done?
I was given sooner than later. I was not given a hard date.
I know the town supervisor has already escalated this issue. So hopefully we will get it sooner or later. Okay?
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about was the conversion of our streetlights, our illumination lights, from the standard sodium vapors and everything else that we have around to LED lights. So just to do a quick review, over a year ago, there was a consortium put together to bring together towns and villages to basically create a combined bid to do these conversions. The consortium went out to bid. The bids came back incomplete and essentially not viable. At that point, NYPA, the New York Power Authority, was basically directed to step in and become an aggregator for this program. So basically, what NYPA has come back with us is a program where they are, if you want to call it like the general contractor, and they're responsible for bidding out the jobs in bulk to whatever businesses are around. So in this case, for instance, rather than us going and trying to buy 200 LED lights, they're bidding for 7,000 because they're doing, or 10,000 all over. So they're getting a very good price. Likewise, installation and other components. So to get into the weeds of this, what NYPA is offering us is a proposal to convert our streetlights from what we have to LEDs. Basically, the process goes through several steps. The first step, we have to sign sort of an open letter of agreement. The second step would be to engage NYPA and their engineer as a design company. And once we do that, we would be, if we decide to bail out of the project, we would actually be, we need to pay about $7,000 for the design services, which we'd receive. After that, basically, well, I should just do it this way. NYPA would, if we agreed, NYPA would bring in an engineering firm. They would take a look at the village streetlights, develop a plan. We'd have a chance to review the plan, and then a NYPA-approved contractor would come in and do the replacements. The funding for this is basically self-funded. Right now, we pay about $190 a year per fixture to Central Hudson. So we're paying about $43,000 a year for, that includes a maintenance contract. Basically, what, we can go through the numbers if you guys want. What NYPA is proposing is that they will act as a lender for the project. They will lend us some money to do the project, and we can go through the estimates if you want. And basically, we can pay them back, and the amount that we pay them back will be less than we've annually been paying Central Hudson. So not by much, but at least by a little bit. So the idea is that we can get a good finance rate through them, and the way it's structured, we shouldn't really see much of a cash flow swing. And after 5 years, that would be the payback period. Then all the money comes back to us. So, do you guys? You saw the money. Do you want to go through the numbers, or what would you like to do?
No, when you say we pay Central Hudson $42,000 a year, does that include for the electric?
That does not include the electric.
Oh, okay.
The way the
It's a
bill.
rental of the poles?
Yeah, the way the bill is structured is there's a monthly charge basically for the rental and the maintenance of the lights, and then there's an electric charge. So last September, our total Central Hudson bill was $4,100 total. Of that, $3,600 was the rental and maintenance agreement, and 600 or so was the actual electric charge. And among the savings with the LED lights is that you use a lot less electricity. So not only do we see our maintenance costs go down, we would see our electric bill go down. There is one outstanding issue that needs to be resolved, and that is who does the long-term maintenance
Yeah.
of the lights.
what I was thinking.
Yeah, okay, so actually met with the NIPA, Jeff Miano today, met with the NIPA rep today, and he said basically they are working on an aggregated bid. Right now, the town of Red Hook is in, Kingston is in, and the town of Rhinebeck is in. And we would be probably, we'd certainly be teaming up with the town of Rhinebeck and potentially the town of Red Hook. And answering that question, he threw around some numbers. He was giving examples from Long Island, where they were getting annual maintenance bids on the order of $7 per fixture per year, as opposed to the $190 that we're paying. We all kind of agreed that was unrealistic because the infrastructure for this isn't around here. But even if you go to $25, a per fixture per year, you're still well under the $190 that we're paying. So that's an issue that it's going to have to be worked out in the long run, but or not in the long run, but in the near to short term. But the proposal is pretty solid in terms of the finances and the design. And what I should say is, to continue about the design, if we agree, they'll bring in the engineering team. They will look at all our lights, do some checking around, make a series of proposals for what kind of lights should go where.
So are they gonna do like a lighting plan?
Yeah, we're gonna do a lighting plan, exactly. And after the installation occurs, within the first year, if there are issues, there's too much light, somebody's coming in somebody's window, or there's some stray light, they will actually come back and try to mitigate the problem either by, the nice thing about the LEDs is they can be, they're pretty directional. So either you work on the directionality, or you can actually put up shields that will prevent the stray light from flowing around. So NIPA, because they're the aggregator for this project, would like to know by the end of July who's in and who's out, at least for the purposes of putting together their aggregation bids. We've got, for us to do that, we've got two documents that we would need to be a party to. The first is the master cost recovery contract, which is in here, and go over if you want. That's non-binding. However, there is the authorization to proceed with design. And that, if we do sign that, that would then put us on the hook for the design costs, which are approximately $7,000. And if you want, that number is derived from the total engineering cost of the project. And if we bail out, it's 40% of the total engineering cost of the project. So I want to give you guys an update, answer any questions, see where you want to proceed.
The operating thing is huge, because when we have a small, tiny job, we can't get anybody's attention. I mean, we have this like $500 electrical problem at the water department, and we can't get an electrical contractor to come out. So we have a couple of bad LED bulbs. We just absolutely have to have an affordable maintenance agreement.
It does not make sense without it, without an affordable maintenance agreement. And that's why I mentioned the part about, even if it turns out, if we go down this path, and it turns out 6 to 8 months from now that a affordable agreement does not materialize, and we've decided to go forward, we would be on the hook for about $7,000. But that would be the maximum of our exposure. I was trying to give you the big downside.
But we would have a
of this.
design that. as
We
a
would have,
result.
we would own the lighting design.
Right.
We would have that.
We'd also be in the same boat as presumably some other municipalities. So maybe we pull our resources, get an operating agreement,
Right.
using all of them and us together.
Yes, I mean, the point is, the meeting today was with Jeff Liano and Chauncey Walker, who's on the town board, and the town is very interested in doing this. And we agreed that we have about 220 streetlights, they have about another 100, a little bit less, and that anything we would do, we would try to do together to increase our power, our purchase power, and also teaming up with Red Hook to see, because they're going to be in the same situation. What do I want to say about that? And also, again, NIPA is going to be acting as a big aggregator and putting out general bid contracts for contractors that they approve.
So we will be, yeah, we're going to be piggybacking on their procurement because,
Yeah,
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 yeah, they're going to be doing the procurement stuff for us, so we don't have to worry about it.
Correct.
So.
correct.
It's turnkey.
Yeah, I mean, it's turnkey to the extent that we have to feed back at certain points.
Yes.
But it seems like a pretty reasonable thing. Now, I'd say there are a couple things that we're probably not going to get into. These new streetlights up above have the potential to be networked and have cameras and to be dimmed and go up and down. That gets a little more expensive. Like Kingston is doing that, and other places that have bigger demands are doing that. It didn't seem necessary for the village to have that sort of level. And if we ever decide that we want it, it's basically just the photo cell that screws in the top. That is the communications module. If ever we needed it, the facility to change it out is there, but I don't see any need for that at the moment.
So is Kingston doing it right now? Is there any place that we can go look?
Okay.
We can, well, we can't all go together.
We can all get, no, you can't, no, it's a field trip.
Take a drive some
No,
night.
you can.
Yeah.
The municipality right now that has them up actually is Scarsdale and down in Westchester, where I've gone and visited and actually looked at, and they've actually set up several test streets with different lights and different levels of lights, and you can go drive around. I've done it, Chauncey, gone around and take a look.
They offered this last fall, I believe, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you went?
I went.
As well as with the town?
Right, and I could do the same, I could give you the same drive around. We did ask if NYPA would be willing, if we agree to this, would they be willing to put up a couple of test lamps to get the sense that people like it or not? So that would also be a possibility. The biggest issue that people tend to have with these new lights is the first ones that came out were really blue, white, and glary.
Yeah.
And people really didn't like them very much. Over the years, they've developed lights that don't have or have reduced that quality greatly. Jeff said he calls the color that now they produce moonlight. That's a subjective analysis. But we could probably find out the lights themselves are made by Philips, and they're the biggest lighting company.
Yeah.
We could probably find some place where there are similar lights in the region, and we could go take a look at them. If you're so
Rick, I just ask you, what would be expected of the board this evening, if anything?
Nothing yet. I wanted to bring this to you, but I think if we were to go ahead, at the next meeting, I would ask for the authorization to sign the two documents so that we could give NYPA an answer before the end of July. So I wanted to throw that out to you. You guys can come back with questions.
Okay.
I just want to basically open the dialogue and set the ground so that people could get involved.
Is it possible to have someone come in and speak with the board? Because this is really a big issue, a really big item that we're talking
Yes.
about. And it sounds like there is some exposure to the village if we signed the agreement, the $7,000.
$7,000, right, that would be.
So,
We actually discussed that with Jeff. They would be willing to come up and do that. It might be best done as a joint town-village
Sure.
meeting, because we can all sit around and talk about it together. So that is a possibility. But, if you have any questions, if you have any direct questions right now, direct them to me, and either I know the answers or I'll bring them down to Jeff in the meantime.
but I think possibly a joint work session, a public session could be of value.
Yeah.
Because we are talking about changing out every single street light potentially in the village, right?
Right, although what I would point out right now is that Central Hudson does it now with, as streetlights are burning out in the village, they're putting up LED lights, because that's how
Right.
it works. And basically, they're putting up whatever LED light they want.
Right, but
So
that's
we have
an
no-
important,
Right, we have no control, we don't have a lighting plan. We can't say, we want this intersection brighter, we want this street darker.
But
Central Hudson does
that
their
becomes a compelling part of the narrative, why we would want to do this. Because better that we have a control of our own destiny than leave it. And that leads me to a quick segue, because on our street, Howie and I, we do have exactly that situation where the bulb was, on the corner was changed out, it's an LED, and it really is upsetting to at least one of our neighbors, and we've never been able to provide a responsive, a good answer. And I heard you mention tonight about shields.
Yes, there are. I mean, you have to look at the design. I don't know what kind of fixture that Central puts in, but there are potentially shields that can be.
And that's something that we'd have to pursue with Central Hudson, but not our own highway department or.
Right,
we'd have to-
right,
yeah,
right.
Okay.
No.
In the case for the one you're talking about, we could not use shields because it's a lighted intersection. And so the limitation by Central Hudson and the brightness of the bulb was really the biggest issue. But there are rules in terms of how you have to light the intersection, and that's what we couldn't get past with Central Hudson.
Right. I mean, I
So
think that,
how would we, whether we have control of that or we continue the ad hoc approach from Central Hudson, how do you manage like something like that? Like how would we address that issue? Or is it not something that can be solved?
with Central Hudson, or if we do it ourselves?
Well, it sounds like from what the mayor's saying, we would have this issue because of regulations.
No, we can,
Not
we
because of
could,
technology.
It'd be addressed in the design plan.
we could address it in the design plan. Central Hudson has a limitation, as Rick mentioned, of what they offer. There's more selections offered by this company than what Central Hudson will offer us, which allow us to still get the same amount of illumination, but without the brightness and the
Okay.
effect that we're having.
So there is a way to manage the technology.
There- And the history of LED lights were that the first ones were really bright and really glary, and they met with a lot of resistance. They've improved a lot over the years. They've come down in price. They've improved a lot over the years. And basically the benefits of this program are, one, we would stop the rental fees and the maintenance fees that we're paying to Central Hudson, and our electric bill will go down. All of these lights are also what are called dark sky compliant. There's been a move over the years to eliminate light pollution, and the LED lights do have a much more defined dispersion rather than, if you look at the kind of the orange ones, they really cast light everywhere. So there's some aesthetic reasons, there's some financial reasons.
I'm
ahead.
supportive, to be clear, I'm supportive
Yeah.
of moving in this direction, but I'm concerned because for the resident, the constituents, they're not making this separation. Well, this was Central Hudson who did this particular
Right.
light, and it was one of the earlier bulbs, and the bulbs have gotten better, and it didn't have design. This is all good information, but it should be at least available, in my recommendation, in some sort of public session, much like we've done with our SDR.
I think, I think that would all be coming, and I think that's part of what I wanted to discuss, with the board. We may want to have a hearing or a discussion, public discussion about this kind of stuff. That's, I think, for the board.
And it sounds like we have to
think about.
do that between now and July, the end of July,
Well, I
to
guess,
sign these agreements.
We'd actually have to have it before our next board meeting, so then we could move it forward.
right. Well, I guess the question is, that's why I brought up might we be at a place before, I don't know if we can pack all of this in beforehand, but are we willing to say, look, we'll go ahead and worst comes to worst, we bought ourselves a $7,000 lighting plan?
Well, if not, we can also, if it doesn't work out in time, we can call a special board meeting.
That's true. That's true.
If, for whatever reason, we
Right.
can't get a public meeting on the agenda in enough time, if it felt necessary, we'll call a special meeting,
Okay.
okay?
And the other thing I'd say is and I want to emphasize that in talking to Jeff, the idea that there would be this 1 year, basically a 1 year period after the lights went in, when we would still be working with the engineer and with NIPA, so that when people do have a concern, we can address it. And basically, he said his experience is, you'll hear about it the first night.
This is all very well explained in the document that you just
Yeah,
distributed
better
as available.
than I
So
did, yeah.
I really would ask you all to read through that document and get your questions, and then you'll work on getting a meeting.
Yes.
Okay,
And you guys are up for it if you want to do maybe a joint town-village
Yeah.
meeting? Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
It just seemed to make
Yeah.
sense.
I think
Oh,
that's the
and
right thing.
I should mention one more thing. Potentially, if we do go in with the town, there is money for shared services. So that would be part of the maintenance contract. We might be able to create a shared services agreement
good.
between us, and we may be able to get some money for that. So I hope that wasn't too convoluted a explanation. The last thing that I want to talk about was the potential purchase of water-filled jersey barriers. Basically, we have an issue with a crowd and vehicle control at Santa Claus, at Porch Fest, and what we've been doing is either parking highway trucks or village trucks or using police cruisers as a barrier. And this is basically in case the out-of-control vehicle, some other issues. There was a meeting today, I was on the phone, Gary, Sergeant Dunn, representative from the state police, basically to explore the use of these barriers. Basically, they look like the Jersey barriers.
Yeah.
They're plastic, they're orange and white striped. And the idea is that you fill them with water on location. So they're empty, you can throw them in the back of the truck, they weigh 100 pounds, whatever, you put them out where you need them, fill them with water on site, when you're done, drain them, and you can bring them around. There were some questions about the size and the weight and what's necessary, which the state police and Sergeant Dunn are looking into in terms of what's adequate for the level of protection that we're looking for. So I wanted to let you guys know that this is just something that's being discussed. There is, I must say, the state police is very complimentary. They said, we were actually kind of in front of a lot of municipalities on this and looking in terms of this crowd control, vehicle control issues, which is very nice to hear. And we are also potentially looking, and we may be able to partner with the fairgrounds and some other people who also use these kinds of barriers. So just wanted to give you guys that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right. That's it.
Good. Like wastewater. Howie, before, I would like to have our presenters
Yes.
up first, if that's okay?
You can introduce you? Okay.
I don't have Tom's last name, but.
I'm Tom Kroll. I'm with Inframark. Inframark's a company that provides contract operation of water and wastewater facilities. We talked to the mayor and Trustee Trout the other week, and he suggested we come up and do a presentation about what we do and possible application for the village's wastewater plants. You can give me the next slide. So who are we? Inframark, we're a privately held company. We partner with communities to provide water and wastewater service. We provide the management, the operation, and the maintenance of the facilities, and we're a nationwide company doing this. You may recognize Severn Trent. That was formerly our name up until last year. Up to that point, we were owned by a British company, a British utility. In July of last year, we were sold to a private equity company in an all-cash transaction. We're now a leveraged company, and our owners are managers of pension funds, and we're totally U.S. owned. But Severn Trent goes back to 1983. It was a roll-up company, and one of the companies that it rolled up was Mid-Hudson Pollution Control, who's been serving water and wastewater operations in the Hudson Valley since the 1980s. We're headquartered in Horsham, Pennsylvania, which is just north of Philadelphia, with a regional office in Newburgh, New York. Michael Batts is our regional manager. He's here with me this evening. He's headquartered in Newburgh. So what do? We partner with municipalities, again, to provide the main, basically turnkey operation in your water and wastewater facilities. So we can do water production, water distribution, wastewater collection and treatment, administer an industrial treatment program if needed, administer a water cross-connection program, do meter reading. Basically, we provide the labor and services to operate and manage your water and wastewater facilities. We have nationwide, we operate about 200 wastewater facilities, another 170 water facilities, 1,500 employees, cover 19 states. We manage lots of sludge and lots of gallons of water. So where do we work? Like I said, 19 states, mostly around the coast, a little bit in the center of the country. And in the Hudson Valley, those are our locations that we're providing service. We work for the Tri-Municipal Commission, we work for the town of Carmel, New York, we're over in Pauling, and another bunch of other littler facilities scattered throughout the valley. So this is our partnering philosophy. When we became Infomark, we rebranded ourselves and really focused on becoming a company that partners as an operator of water and wastewater. So what we're trying to do is align with what you need, make your goals our goals, tailor, give you the right mix of services and skills to effectively operate and maintain your wastewater facilities. We try to be accessible. That means we give you the information you need to understand what's going on with your systems. We share our insights on what could be improved, what's coming down the pike as far as regulations, and what you're going to need to do in the future to stay compliant and still provide a good, effective, and cost-effective service. And we hold ourselves accountable. So we're high on compliance. We're making sure that we operate correctly. We provide guarantees on compliance for the things that we have control over. We're always looking to improve. And one of the improvements that we're currently undertaking is using more informational technology. So we bring to the service a data management system where all the data that we collect in the operation of the plant is combined on a cloud system and used to generate the reports and make those reports accessible to you. We provide a monthly report, gives you an idea of what's going on with your system, where you're going to need to spend money, where your money was spent, what's coming down the pike as far as things in the future you're going to have to address, and how we've operated. Have we operated safely? Have we maintained our compliance? So we're really trying to be an open, honest company that provides you a pure operations service. We don't provide engineering. We're not a regulated utility. We're not looking to buy your system down the road. Our focus is to provide the best service we can to operate and maintain. Next one. So what's the advantages of contracting with Infomark? We're a national company, so that brings you a broad range of experience and expertise. We spread a lot of our overhead over a lot of projects, so we have experts that you couldn't afford to have on staff, but are available to you as our client. We have a local presence with a regional manager, Michael, based in Newburgh. And in New York, we have 77 water and wastewater operators. So we have a good staff of people to provide the service. We're focused strictly on water and wastewater operations. Like I said, we don't do engineering. We'll help you with those kind of things. We'll help you source them if you want, but we're not going to be your engineer. We'll get somebody independent of us to do that. We're currently investing, like I said, in our services, an enterprise maintenance management system, an enterprise data management system, and we're investing in developing people for staffing and project management. And this is a real issue in the water and wastewater industry. Lots of people entered it in the 70s and are now on the verge of retiring, and there hasn't been a fill-in below them because there hasn't been a lot of open positions up to this point. So we are facing a tight market for operators. So what we're doing is developing our own. We're bringing young people in, recognize when they have the potential, and putting them in a leadership program so they can understand the management potential, not just how do you operate the plant, but how do you manage the facility, how do you interact with the customer, how do you interact with the regulatory agencies, so that they're ready to come in and take positions as we grow. And really, we're committed to providing service, a value service. We are not a company that will just provide you an operator. There are companies out there that somebody termed it, you get an operator's underwear. Anything else, you have to come out of your pocket. So we're really trying to provide a value service. Get the next one. So Our preferred method is a full-service delivery model, where we provide the management, the labor, the maintenance, sampling and analysis, monthly reporting, both to regulatory and to you, the operating materials, the technology, compliance guarantees, and all the support needed to do this correctly, and capital repair and replacement planning. So what we're also doing is taking a look at your assets and saying, these are the ones that in the next 5 years that you're going to have to address as far as repair and replacement. That all becomes part of a service. It's in an annual fee. How we handle the maintenance, because we come into facilities that we haven't had control of maintenance over preceding us. We set a budget, and we track that budget and we use it towards maintenance activities, not our staff, but the repair, maintenance, the parts, things of that nature, specialized contractors if you need them. We report that monthly, of where you stand on that budget. End of the year, we reconcile if we've spent less than the budget, it comes back to you. If we spent more, then you reimburse us. But it's broken up in the annual fee so that you really, at the end of the year, join a reconciliation. What you're going to provide as a partner is the capital improvements, the funding of those, the design of those, the setting of rates. We don't have anything to do with setting your rates. We have a fee, it's a fixed fee for the most part, so that you can budget from that. You'll provide billing and customer service. We can provide that, but generally we subcontract that out because we're really operators that are not accountants. And you do provide the permitting, so you have to maintain the permits for the facility. We'll help you with that. We'll provide you all the data, but in the end, you're the responsible party for permitting. Next one. So what's the advantages of that, of a full service model? You're going to have minimal day-to-day management responsibilities. You're not going to have somebody that's requisitioning parts or trying to find a replacement part or find a contractor. You have no staffing responsibilities. We do all the hiring. We cover all the benefits. We cover the pensions. We cover everything. So you're not involved in the personnel aspects. We have an HR department that provides assistance to each one of our operations. You have a fixed fee, so you really know what you're budgeting from year to year. The only thing that may change is your capital requirements and your maintenance budget, depending on what needs to be done at the facilities. And you have an access, and I think this is a real benefit, an access to a broad range of expertise. Technical expertise, so you run into a problem or you have a changing permit, we'll provide technical expertise to tell you you can change your process or you can change your facility, but we're looking first at process. So how can we take what you have and use our technical expertise to make that work for what you need in the future? We also have expertise on maintenance. So we develop, what we really work towards is get away from reactive maintenance, do mostly planned maintenance. So try to avoid, the Friday night at midnight, I've got a pump out, I need a replacement, have somebody fly something in because we haven't planned. We're trying to do all that kind of things along with the capital planning to know what we have, what needs to be, what's critical, and have the parts in place or access to the parts in place and plan a replacement rather than do an emergency replacement. We also have expertise to help you on compliance. Like I said, we'll guarantee compliance, but we'll also help you with things that you have issues that we really can't control, like flow. We can't do anything if you have more flow than your plant's permitted for. But we'll help you how the best, most cost-effective way to address that problem. So it's really a full-service model that you really don't have to have very much input from the village to provide the water and wastewater services. So the next step, if it's an interest to you, and we talked last week about this, our next step would be to perform due diligence. When we do that, we examine the facilities, we have our technical expert come in, We meet the staff. We don't have somebody sitting on the shelf waiting for you to come operate your facility. We really look at your current staff as potential employees. Examine the operating records to see where you are on compliance, where you are on loads and flows, and all the aspects that affect the operation of the wastewater plant. Then we model the treatment process if we need to, develop the best operating plan from it, and develop our proposal. And then we really try to gain an understanding of your needs. We'll have 2 or 3 people out here, including Michael, walk through the facilities, talk with the people in the department, understand from your aspects what you're looking for, so that we can develop a proposal that really fits your needs. So, any questions?
So, I just want to be clear, all the capital stuff is still ours, pipes, buildings?
You continue to own the facility. We don't have any ownership of the facility.
We own the infrastructure.
Right.
You own the infrastructure, we operate it, we maintain it.
And I'm just curious, what's the dispute resolution process? Let's say we say, you're out of compliance. You say, well, that's because you didn't invest in that. We told you to fix that and it's not fixed. How do you handle it? How do you handle
Trail
that?
ahead of that.
Okay.
You know, if we see an issue, and that's where the monthly report comes in, and a regional manager or project manager that are in communication with, we're going to tell you that you have this and that could be a potential compliance issue. If it's just who opened the wrong valve or who didn't do the right test, that's our responsibility.
Right.
Anything that we're in charge of and we have control of, we take responsibility. There's going to be some disputes between you, the customer, client, or the operator about just who is responsible. But generally, it's negotiated out. We try to be as reasonable as possible. We have walked away from some clients, and I'll be very front of because they would not invest in it. So, and we have a reputation that, and if you're not interested in investing in maintaining your facilities, we're really not interested in being your operator. We want a good partnering relationship.
Is there, along with that, is there an exit clause then?
Generally, there is. We try, what we're going to do is we're going to make an investment, and we try to spread that out over 3 to 5 years initially. But if there's an exit clause, if we're not performing, we're not maintaining our end of the contract, there's an exit clause. We generally don't like to have an exit for convenience because we made an investment and we're amortizing it over the length of the contract. But generally, the contracts are 3 to 5 years. We've done some where we're in there for 2. We just recently did one in Virginia where they had a lot of compliance issues. We came in there and they said, well, we don't want to put all our eggs in your basket right now. And we said, give us 2 years, we'll right the ship, get this thing operating right. First year, a little over first year, we had it operating, we renegotiated the contract, added their water plant, and they went into a 5-year contract. So we're really focused on getting things done right, getting you satisfied.
The next step is to develop a proposal, and just as we talk, we're still evaluating all the options here.
Right.
Because we're not sure how we're gonna go forward yet.
Mm-hmm.
But if we said, no harm, no foul, could we get a proposal? How would that work?
You call me up and say, we'd like to have a proposal. I'll take it to our management committee and explain where you are with this, get their approval. We'll have people up here to go to facilities.
No charge to,
No charge.
no charge to the village for a proposal.
No.
2 more questions. Emergency response, how is that generally handled? You're spread all over the place, headquarters in Newburgh.
We emergency response, we'll have people assigned to your facility. So they're the first level. And then we have other assets in the area that'll be a backup. We have mechanics and people like that can respond. But we're responsible for emergencies. You're not going to get the call, we're going to get the call. We're going to have the responsibility to handle emergencies.
Does the employee get the call or you get the call?
We have assignments. We have rotating on-call responsibility. People get paid to be on call. then we have an escalating level of management that replies. So if you have an auto dialer or a SCADA system that calls out, there's generally a list of people it goes through until it responds. And
We also have a 24-hour answering service, a live answering service, so they literally will go down this until they get a response.
And that's part of this whole package?
That's part of this whole thing.
Okay.
yeah, the fee covers pretty much everything except the capital.
And my other question was, it was wastewater you guys were talking about.
Yeah, let me just, I should have explained before that the mayor and I have been looking at different options for the wastewater due to the fact that our plant operator retired. So we're just looking at all these different options. That's why we brought in Infomark to, and we're just looking at wastewater right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I was gonna say, so it's not a package, we're not looking at
No, it's not.
wastewater.
And
Okay.
like the slide said, we package it to what your needs.
Okay.
If you recognize, it's not an all or nothing type of proposition. It would be, for you guys, it would be the wastewater.
Okay.
And, and we can tailor it how you want. There's a collection system, do you want us responsible for, if there's a sewer line break or there's a sewer line clog, that's one scope. Other scopes have been just everything inside the treatment facility fence. Others have been treatment facility plus any pump stations. So we can tailor that to your needs. Some places, they have a highway department, they don't want anybody else digging in the street for line break and things like that. So they section that off, say they'll take care of that.
How do you interface with the existing staff, Tom?
What's that?
How do you interface with the existing staff?
Well, they're gonna be our first choice as far as trying to hire staff for this facility. We have other people in the area that we look at promoting, but we're always looking for people, we're looking for good people that have institutional knowledge. What you're lacking right now is the ability to meet the requirements for the licensing. So we would bring somebody in that has a license, sign them as a plant manager or project manager. But we're not trying to do this on the backs of any employees. It's really a career opportunity for them. Because what's happened, one of the reasons that there's not a lot of people coming in to fill the positions that people retire is it was such a stagnant market. You come to work for the village as a trainee, but the chief wastewater operator has been here for 20 years. You never got the opportunity to move up unless you changed skills. Now you come with Infomark, you have opportunities. You may want to stay your career in the Hudson Valley, but you'll also have opportunities to go see other things, see how other plants operate, see other processes operate. So it really provides some career development for people in the water.
So I just want everybody to know that you work with the current employees.
Mm-hmm.
We're not looking to let
Well,
them
it's
go
their
and
first-
hire, and
There are
No promises, though. No
we
promise.
make
Right, right.
They'd have to meet our hiring requirements. One
Mm-hmm.
is drug screening. But we're looking for people that have active licenses, that have some experience. Like I said, we're not trying to do this on the backs of the employees. So the package would look, we don't have a defined pension plan, but we can match in many aspects, the benefits.
So, this is an option we're gonna talk about in executive session, right?
Yeah, it was now to have, and expose it to
Yeah.
another option that we can look at.
It's also good, I'm glad that you asked Tom the question, that we, if we so choose, we can move forward with a proposal at no expense to the,
Right.
To the
They'll do the
village.
due diligence part and then.
Yeah, what you'll get is a proposal that outlines what we've found, our proposed solution, what we'll bring to the operation and maintenance of the facility, and basically a price.
Just on our side, for a contract like this, there obviously, I guess, are other companies that do this kind of work? Do we bid this, do we have some sort of bidding process, or is it specialized knowledge?
You might have to I would get 2 other bids at least.
Okay.
There's other companies.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if what our way forward would be, it's not, you can't just look at one company and say we're awarding a contract. There's a bigger due diligence on our.
Generally, it can be done as professional services. Rather than a bid, you either solicit proposals or qualifications, and they select who most qualified.
Like an RFP.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tom.
Thank you for the
very much.
opportunity.
Howie, want to continue?
Okay, wastewater treatment for May of 2018. Wastewater treated was 4.3 million gallons. Gallons of sludge processed was 36,800 gallons. And pounds of sludge processed was 5,557 pounds. I alerted the board last week we had a special meeting last Thursday. You weren't there, Brant, but just wanted to let you know that we have a big project coming up. This is from Brian. The thrust bearing on the main shaft for the sludge scraper arm is going bad and needs to be replaced. So we're working with KMO and our engineer and John Fenton on getting this fixed. We have to get, the engineer has kind of already signed off on it, said just get prices for parts. And he'll kind of monitor the situation if we need to, but John feels confident he can monitor the construction, the repair.
Okay.
We have to drain a tank and replace some parts without getting too technical here. But I took pictures, I showed all you guys the pictures, and it's a little project, probably take about 2 days. Familiar with that? Yeah, okay.
Basically, it's a big bearing in the.
It's basically a bearing and a rod that slowly turns the,
So if you would contract with us, you would know about it in a report,
right,
and that would be your involvement.
okay. So we're working on that project, and
I wonder if could that be under warranty? It was only about 5 years old.
that was done 5 years ago? It's in the newer,
6, maybe 5. No, within 5 years.
Longer than that.
The sludge press? No.
no, it's not the sludge press. It's not the sludge press.
No, this is in the.
It's the
Fire- a mechanical arm and the
clarifier, not the aerator, but the clarifier, which is in the middle.
It's the mechanical arm. and
Yeah, the mechanical arm. I can show you a picture later.
That's all right. I'll take your word for it.
Okay. Now, along the same lines of bringing it in for Mark to discuss our future with the wastewater department, I'd like to make a motion to advertise for a position in the wastewater department for a 3A operator. Our 3A operator has since retired. We need a 3A operator. Because it's a 3A plant, that's just based on the capacity. We are covered by KMO right now, so we are in compliance. They have a 3A operator's license there, and they are managing our plant right now. So I'd like to make a motion to advertise for a position for a 3A operator for the wastewater department.
Second?
Any discussion? I don't think I just want to bring up the fact that this doesn't change anything going forward, but it gives us the ability, again, to look at all the options
Right.
that we're being exposed to for this.
Our current man that's closest to the 3A operator has a 2A operator's license, and he's probably about a year away from getting his 3A,
On a fast track, a year.
I thought it was a couple,
2 years,
maybe 2 years,
Yeah,
1 to
maybe.
2 years.
yeah.
So, you know, we wanted to get moving on this, and
I mean, we currently have, the reality is we have a staffing issue.
right.
We're running with 2 people who are running 7 days a week.
Well, that's the other part. I want to make another motion too, but
And how is the salary set for this position? Is this under contract, or
Yeah.
is it flexible with
it's in
experience?
the contract.
So it's a good question, because
That's the right question.
do we go, there's 2 proposals. One is we go with the recommended, and what's in the current union contract for chief operator.
Okay.
Which may not be attractive enough.
Well, that's why we're testing the market.
And I don't, to be honest, I don't have that. Do you have
I
that,
think
do you know
it's-
that number?
I'm
No,
thinking
I don't have
it's-
that number
It
in
might
front of
even
me.
be
I mean,
like
we can look it up.
$20 an hour.
$25 maybe?
I think it's like 20.
No. Is it?
I can tell you. Give me a minute.
So we have different options here, going the way we are, with KMO overseeing the plant with their 3A operator's license, and waiting for somebody else to get their 3A operator's license in 1 to 2 years, or try to look, we're testing the market to see if there's any 3A operators out
Test the
there.
market,
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
the current contract calls for a chief wastewater treatment plant operator at $20 an hour.
And if we have the right to, underneath there is a sentence that says we can adjust it according to the needs.
The
according to our
village may hire employees or promote employees with prior relevant work experience at an hourly rate above the starting wage.
needs. So we have the flexibility.
And do we have a sense what the annualized cost of KMO is?
No.
It's,
Well, I mean, to run like we're doing now,
Yeah, annualized.
we're getting 4 to 6 hours at $100 an hour per week.
per week, yeah.
Per week. So 6 times 50,
At the maximum would be 600 times 52.
600, right?
It's about a little over 30 grand, right?
Okay.
So we can sit down and look at all these options, you know, we got 3 or 4 different options.
You got my support.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
we have to vote on this one.
Well, we need to amend this. Are we going to amend this with the advertising rate?
I don't think we don't have to advertise the wage, do we?
We have been.
We always do?
We have been, yes.
Can we say it's commensurate with experience?
We can put in, what we've put in there is that can be adjusted due to relevant experience, but we list the starting wage here, and then we've added that clause in the past.
Let's find out if we need to do that. If we need to put the benchmark in the ad, I don't see any reason why we have to do that.
Well, do you want to hold off on the approving that then?
No, I think that
No,
we should
because
move
we
forward.
we can't lose 2 weeks
Right.
Yeah.
till our next meeting.
A month, right. We lose a month if there was something available.
I don't believe that we listed the hourly rate when we pursued the planning.
Right.
Well, we listed an hourly rate with the clause that could be adjusted for relevant
Is that
experience.
what we did?
That's what we did.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I see no reason
All right.
why not to.
So
It's-
you might turn off some
I
people,
mean-
but
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're gonna turn them off when they find out the rate, so you might as well turn them off before they communicate with us, right?
Pre-close the door.
I mean, if you put in there a commensurate with the experience.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what we'll do.
Yeah,
All right.
We shouldn't wait on this, we should move forward.
yeah.
All right, do we have a second? All right, did-
Yeah, we had a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, so carried.
Okay, so I have another motion. I'd like to make a motion to advertise for an experienced part-time weekend operator for the wastewater plant.
experienced?
Well, how can you have an unexperienced person in the,
Well, they could train them during the week and then,
So this would be somebody with no license, or has a license, or,
well,
that's.
what did
that's
we do
problem.
the last time you were on the board for the weekend operator?
Because he had been around forever, he knew, someone trained him early on in the water department, then he went over and had some skills, and then he was still kind of a laborer, but
Well, if
someone
you're,
would need to train. He was not a licensed operator, he was a laborer, basically.
but if we
But he had a
were,
lot of years of experience.
but if we were to hire an operator, we would not do this other option.
no, we wouldn't, that's why I'm just trying to get all these options out there, though.
So why would we want to advertise for both?
Because if we don't find anybody at the, for a 3A operator, because there's supposedly there's not a lot of people out there, according to these guys, then we can stay with KMO until Brian gets his 3A operator's license. But in the meantime, we also have somebody working on weekends.
Or we could put a time limit on for the 3A, and then if it doesn't materialize, then advertise as
If you want
well.
to do it that way, yeah, I just think we should,
So it's not confusing, because if you get 2 applicants, now you're
Right.
advertising for 2 jobs.
Right.
You're advertising for 2 jobs. You're gonna say, well, we're not gonna do a job if you advertise for it?
well, we're not going to,
You're gonna not do one or the other.
right,
Why don't you wait 2 weeks? So definitely go
2 to
forward.
4 weeks.
okay.
Yeah, but I like the idea, but I think the mayor's correct. Let's put a little distance between the 2 postings,
Okay,
Yeah.
2-3 weeks at
I
most.
just wanted to get it out there.
Yeah, no, it's a
These
good
guys are,
suggestion.
these guys are running 7 days a week right now, though.
Yeah, that's the
I think we
thing.
Yeah.
could use
Yeah.
that part-time operator.
I mean, they're not complaining about it because they're making extra money.
Okay.
I mean, what if we were hired temporary?
Temporary to work weekends or temporary to work
Yeah,
during
a
the week?
temporary, not a permanent employee, but temporary.
That's how we're going to advertise it, for
No, I'm,
weekends.
I'm offering you a suggestion that it, rather than offering for a permanent weekend employee, go for a temporary employee.
Yeah. It's okay.
And that would be subject to whatever we wanted that.
I think we should work with Brian to see what kind of skill set this person needs though, 'cause you gotta do testing stuff on
I know.
the every day.
You kind of have to be somewhat experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it'd be a temporary position.
Okay. I can amend my motion. Do you want me to put experienced in there?
Well, if they're gonna be the only ones at the plant, I think they need some experience, yes.
Okay, that's why I had it in there before.
If they had the temp during the week, and then one of the experienced guys could take it.
That's true. The
yeah,
weekend.
but
They don't have
that's,
the
but
weekends.
that's not addressing the issue of these guys working 7
Well-
days a week.
No, it does, it takes up.
Until the individual is, I guess how long will it be before a non-experienced person can be trained by the, plus we're now giving another task.
We're saying experienced temporary
Okay.
position
All right.
is what the proposal is right now.
Test the
And-
waters.
I don't know if
We
anyone's
have
gonna
to test the
serve.
waters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we'll test the waters, and if it,
Yeah.
we don't, nothing comes up, we'll modify.
Okay, so I'd like to amend that motion. Karen,
To hire a part-time experienced temporary position for the wastewater treatment.
weekend operator, or just not without,
Well, do you want to limit to number of hours? Because we, like Brand said, we could fill them in during the week and have one of the other operators cover it. So rather than having a permanent weekend,
How about
limit
just
them-
must be able to work weekends, just add.
yeah. And this is civil service, right?
It's labor, right?
Right?
Yeah,
So it would have to be a
Yeah.
civil service. We have to make sure, I think we should hold off, because I don't know if we have the classification in our current code to be able to do this.
Yeah. What, do you have, could you see the, can I see the contract again?
You're probably right.
I think we'd have to check to make sure we can do this within the civil service requirements and advertise for the correct number of hours, make it a temporary employee, and answer those questions before.
We have wastewater treatment plant operators, we have wastewater plant attendants. So maybe the laborers, maybe the one weekend person was a plant attendant years ago.
She's definitely moved forward with the,
Yeah,
Three
let's,
The operator, yeah.
that's
Okay.
for
So
certain.
you want to table the temp, or the,
if you think we don't have the right,
Until this could be clarified.
I think we need to just make sure that we meet the requirements for
Okay.
for advertising it.
yeah, I just want to, we got to talk about it, so,
Okay, so I think we'll hold on that,
Yeah.
one, right?
okay.
All in favor of holding that one, since there was a motion? We're gonna
Aye.
amend the motion to not advertise until
And not-
we have
and then-
clarity. Right. All, I was second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
you don't vote it down.
All right, water.
Don't say no.
Okay, the
could
Well, we
cut
had a
the other
motion.
way.
Yeah, you
Said
could
no.
just say no.
We had a motion.
All right.
13,888,000 gallons in May. The lower lift pump station, the raw water pumps lost prime, one of them anyway, which isn't a big issue, I guess. There's 3 raw water pumps, and when it's easy to kind of prime the pump and get it going again. May 30th, the filter bed 2 was taken offline to make repairs to one of the troughs. They're replacing old parts on the other trough to prevent future breakdowns. Paul Matthews assisted in that. We did our annual water quality report. No big problems with that. They had a water leak when a car ran into a fire hydrant over on Mill Road, I believe, over by the cemetery. And normal maintenance at the plant and at the Violet Hill storage tanks. We did get the sludge analysis back from the lagoon for the alum contaminant, and it's not too bad anecdotally. We think it might qualify for beneficial use determination. That's not official, but it looks good so far, which could, when we dredge this thing out, could save tens of thousands of dollars in transport costs, because instead of transporting to New Jersey or wherever, it would be locally transported. So we're going to meet the vendor, the contractor that did the dredging about 16, 17 years ago, and we're going to get this bid package underway and get moving on this. So after we talk, some practical things with this outfit. So I'll have more next month, but we're moving on this.
Update on the low-lift pump station grant.
That we're waiting to get a confirmation, the firm funding from the state, before we start getting the design and the bid package underway on the lower lift project. Okay. And I've been meeting, do you want to mention later?
Yeah.
On the water line project, I've been powwowing with John and Sanjay
Yeah.
about the different avenues for grant funding for the water line project.
Okay. Very good.
That's it.
Anything else? Committee reports. For the first time ever, our emergency response coordinator, Mr. Frank Intervello. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting for us.
Thank you. Back in February, the town and the village both appointed me as emergency management coordinator. Since that time, I've been getting to know the different stakeholders in the game. I've met with the fire chief, Kyle, also the chief of Rhinecliff, Richard Kipp. I've met informally with Dennis McGuire, the chief of Hillside, met with Pete Dunn. I have been getting up to speed on a lot of the operations, the different things. Stepping into Henry's job is quite big shoes to fill, and he was here for a long time and had a lot of institutional knowledge, which is contained in a binder that I'm wading through, and a thumb drive with tons of documents on it that I've been wading through and trying to see what's relevant and what's been superseded and brought up to date and stuff like that. So I've been spending my time meeting with a couple of other committees. There's an informal committee called the Rhinebeck Area Coalition, which was a precursor, which Henry adopted. I think he got it up and running about a year ago. It is a precursor to the committee, the Emergency Preparedness Committee, which you guys approved last month, and the town has also approved. So it is now officially a joint committee of the town and village. The committee consists of specific standing members, representatives from each of the fire departments, the police department, the county sheriffs, the state police, I believe the hospital, and I don't have the legislation in front of me, but I think we included the schools as well. So those will be specific members by position, and we're also going to be soliciting membership from the public, both from the village and from the town. My next step is to get that advertised and start bringing members to the boards, to the respective boards, to be approved. Hopefully, once we have that committee up and running, fully staffed, we will take to task reviewing the master plan. The last time our emergency preparedness plan was updated was 2013. And the previous time before that was 2008. So it's been once in the last 10 years. So it's due. I've met a couple of times with folks from the fairgrounds. I met their emergency manager. I've received a copy of their emergency plan. There is an emergency management meeting for the 2018 fair coming up later this month, which I'll be attending. They already had an in-house familiarization session for their staff in terms of active shooter scenarios, which I also attended and assisted with. We did a fire drill for Brookmead, for the Baptist home. I've met with the Ferncliff people, and I will be meeting shortly with the Astor home. I will have a formal report for you. I hope to have it tonight, but things got a little screwy for me this week. But I will, in the next few days, draft up a formal report of what we've been doing since the committee was formed, what I've been doing since I've been appointed to this position. And we'll be able to make that part of the record for everybody. Any questions?
It's the first chance that I've had to meet Frank, and
Yeah.
just say welcome, and very glad that you're here to support the village.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. These are the kind of plans we hope we don't have to use, but
Exactly.
but in the moment, you're really
Right.
glad they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the goal is to have Frank present on a regular basis on his activities and what's going on, so that,
I think that's a great idea.
yeah.
Frank, can you tell the board your qualification, where you retired from?
Yeah, I spent nearly 37 years in the Yonkers Police Department. I retired at the end of 2015 as deputy chief. I was deputy chief for the last 4 years of my career. Spent a lot of time in emergency service unit and dealing with emergency management and planning and stuff like that. I had actually taken classes that Henry taught when he was down in Mount Vernon back in the last millennium.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very good, so thank you.
Thank you.
Frank,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Environmental Committee, this is me. Just give a brief summary of the Environmental Committee. As I've reported before, I have 3 activities to report. One is the source water protection. On May 31st, we officially formed the Hudson River Drinking Water Intermunicipal Council. Say that 3 times. Which is officially known as, the shorter version, as the Hudson 7 right now, because it's the 7 municipalities. So there was a formal signing on May 31st at the Marist College at the Boathouse, which was received by the press. There was press releases shortly after that, one by Riverkeeper, another by the Poughkeepsie Journal, and one by Mid-Hudson News. And this activity has reached the attention of the state level, where we're now going to be able to proceed with getting, hopefully, some grant activity. The next meeting is on June 28th, which we're going to have, basically have the start the formal organization, elect a chair, appoint positions, and set agendas, and have regularly formal meetings that will involve not only the members of the committee, but liaisons to the water plants, to be associated with all that and start sharing information as a regular council. So I'm very excited about that. It's a good thing. We're doing a lot, hopefully, on source water protection for the Hudson River. The next area is food waste. I've mentioned this before. I had Matt Stinscombe, who is driving the food waste activity, here to present. We are moving this project forward as well. We recently had a joint meeting with the town of Rhinebeck, the town of Red Hook, and ourselves with the village on a collaborative effort for food waste reduction. So we're looking to decide where we're going and how we're going to do in terms of food waste. At that meeting, we wanted to reach out to other municipalities. I have since reached out to the village of Red Hook and the village of Tivoli to attend our next meeting, which is on June 13th at 5:30 here at Village Hall, and they have agreed. So essentially, we're at 5 municipalities right now who are interested in pursuing the discussion on food waste reduction. And it's not just about the food you eat and what you throw away, it's the food that you don't get to eat, that, for instance, the apples that fall off the tree, that go to waste on the ground, how we can collect them, what can we make good use of them, as well as food waste and education are all of these activities, and potentially the development of a compost as a result of doing that, that will be served by all the municipalities. A lot to be decided yet, but it's looked like it's gaining momentum with other municipalities. And Emma Alban, which I've talked about before, where the board approved to have a intern that would be responsible for the development of a food waste reduction strategy. She has been appointed as our intern from the Center for Environmental Policy at BARD. We've met Emma, we've talked to Emma on several occasions. She is now working on that strategy and will be the go-between for a lot of us on this intermunicipal collection of people to help us decide on how we can implement that strategy. So if you see the office in the back of our village hall right now, right there, that office was specifically set up because we said we would provide that intern with space to be able to work out of, hold meetings, have discussions, etc. We've met with the fire department because it's a shared space, and we have now a temporary office set up, which we're calling our environmental office here in the village of Rhinebeck. So excited about that as well. And the last is transportation. That activity, we're working closely again also with the grant committee. We now have collaboration between not only a member on the environmental committee, but now a member on the grant committee in terms of sharing a lot of information, and specifically in regard to the areas of grants. And we're looking at applications for reducing traffic that are promoting walking and biking alternatives for the village of Rhinebeck and going forward with grants. And John will probably talk about that later. So any questions about the environmental committee? A lot of good things happening.
Mr. Mayor, the composting municipalities, when did you begin the campaign to add, and because 5 is really significant.
In a very short period of time. Quite honestly, it's been within the last month and a half.
Wow.
That
So
we've
clearly
had.
there's enthusiasm.
And they've heard about what we're doing, and we've been contacted by some of them to want to join, and the others we've reached out to.
That's great. Very good.
So, it's all good stuff. Ethics Committee, anything to report? Grant Advisory Committee.
Well, I know the hour's getting late, so I will say that the most important thing is that I have another candidate. I've provided her resume to the village board. It's actually Trustee Trout and myself, our neighbor, Michelle Mooney. And some of you have already met Michelle. And in addition to her resume, which is very, very robust in terms of education and particularly work experience, the item that I'm kind of missing from the grant committee is a really good computer internet person. Someone who knows how to leverage the internet effectively, quickly, to research things for me, that I can delegate things to, and that is also just very savvy with being able to cut, paste PDF files, Word files, GIFs and JPEGs, and all the things that you need when you want to do a compelling grant, and we always want to do a compelling grant application as add-ons, uploads, things that you add in addition. So ultimately, I submit Michelle to the board tonight to be part of the grant committee.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Stane? Just one last comment. This makes 6.
Yeah, yeah.
This is really
Yeah.
great.
And I think that, Mr. Mayor, that each of the trustees are working with me on a very specific grant. Howie and I, Trustee Trout and I, are working on specifically the building on the existing work that's already being done at Legion Park. We're hoping to secure additional funds to take it to the next level. We've got Gabby and Trevor working with, from my committee, directly with Hallie, myself. We've met. Rick and I, of course, are working on what started as the grant for the improved sidewalk, and Mr. Mayor will talk about how we've expanded upon that with your role. And as Brent already mentioned, Sanjay from my committee is working with Brent and I on what would be the biggest, the largest grant that we're seeking, and that is hopefully to achieve what was not able to be accomplished last year, despite everyone's best efforts in securing a grant. So we've got 3 very wide-ranging grants: infrastructure in the way of water, parks and recreation, and of course sidewalk. Yes.
The tree. And the tree
Oh,
committee.
yes, and thank you. We also, the 4th grant that we have in motion is with the tree committee, working very closely with Meg, and that would be, I won't go into the details, but it's something that Meg has been, and the tree committee has long been seeking funding from the state that's available. So each of the trustee-related grants, the drop-dead date is July 27th, which is going to come up very quickly. The grant that we're working on with Meg, the drop-dead date on that is July 17th. And Mr. Mayor, as you know, because you and I attended a special workshop last week in Poughkeepsie that would expand upon the opportunities that we're already pursuing through regional economic development grants, with a new grant that has just been announced within the last few weeks that combines federal money with some state money separate from everything else that we're talking about. And actually, I'm going to ask Mr. May if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment to talk about that.
Okay. Well, it's really the extension of what you were working on, Rick, which is developing a pathway from Mulberry Street, from the fairgrounds to get people to visit Village Center. This grant, which is the state and federal, has $100 million available combined between it.
And for the state of New York.
For the state of New York, and it's limited, and it's purposely focused on, we are the farthest southern county participating in this. Most of the other counties are north of us, so it is competitive across the state. What we are proposing to do is, one of the key initiatives of that grant was to promote safety for students to walk and or bicycle to and from the schools. All right, it's a key component of the grant. We have met with the school, we have met with the superintendent of the school and the school board and with the Chamber of Commerce on this subject in terms of developing a connector from the north side of town, whether it be, right now the discussion is probably up Platte to Mulberry, which picks up part of yours, to East Market Street, block up East Market, pick up the grant application that we have in for a crosswalk at Parsonage, down Parsonage to North Park for access to the high school, up the continuation of South Parsonage to Knollwood, pick up a sidewalk on Knollwood to go to the new sidewalk to get the kids to the elementary school. So it would be encompassing that whole connecting path as part of the application. It would only include sidewalks, but it would also include an idea or a concept that's always been developed, which is called Sharrows. Sharrows is shared roads, which is shared with bicycles and cars. So it's signed and nomenclature and painted on the road, so each one knows that they have a right to be on the road, and we would facilitate traffic. So the school board is talking about it tonight, as we are, and hopefully we'll get their letters of recommendation and meet that grant. But very quick summary.
Perfect.
We're going to try to put something together that will link the village together to the schools.
And this particular grant has 2 deadlines, the first of which is June 28th. We moved through that successfully. The second and final deadline is in early August.
Right.
So a lot of activity, a lot of things in motion. No guarantees, but one thing for sure, if we don't try.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Right.
This is on top of the ADA grant that we have in already for the new power lift within the village hall that's been submitted into the county. The community development block grant for the crosswalk at Parsonage that is in there. And the other option which we were pursuing for wastewater, which was with the Dutchess County Wastewater Authority for them to do evaluation and study of the water and sewer plant. So we're trying, thank you to the committee for really working on this, and also our engineering firm who's helping us do some of this work to push this forward.
And I'll just end on that point because Trustee Trout and I have a need to touch base with Crawford, right, Howie? And just a little unclear on the protocol. Just want to make sure that we make an overture to them because we really could use some assistance in developing some cost. Is that something that as our designated engineers?
You guys are empowered to use the engineering resources. There should,
Yeah, it's going to be like I was going to talk about this in my park report, but.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We call it John and I call it the second phase of the Legion Park development, proposed development. So we wanted to get Crawford involved to give us some ideas because originally there was sketches made by Trevor Sachs. How do you pronounce his name?
I think that's correct.
Okay, good. And there's some trails, and there's some bridges going across the stream, and there's another bridge going to an island, and
In the pavilion.
the pavilion down by the
this was all in
stream.
the original.
This is all in the
The
original
original.
proposal, which was on a committee which Trevor and his wife were on. So we're going to try to.
So you're
Yeah, we.
reincarnating
Right.
the original proposal.
Right.
And by the way, this has a historic reach.
Yes.
Because Howie says that he even remembers the bridges and
there
what
was-
the pavilion was at one
Yeah.
time, and that history goes back even further.
Yeah.
And the significance of that is because these regional development grants give us the opportunity to pursue potential funds from different agencies, and we might be able to pursue some funds from the historic agency, in addition to the other agencies that will be shopping our
Right.
application to.
Right.
The Regional Economic Development Grant was one that we were awarded for the low-lift pump station
That is correct.
last year.
Right, that's correct.
So,
Right.
We were successful in getting that grant last
Right.
year, as well as $18,000 to do records recording and retention grant that we just recently received as
Correct.
well.
Right.
So we're making progress.
We are, and it's great to work in a, collaboration with the other trustees and yourself, so. That's it, thank you.
Thank you.
Howie, Parks Committee.
Okay, speaking of grants, the county grant for handicap parking at the Legion Park has been submitted to the county for approval. We're just waiting for that to come back. Our engineer's waiting for it, and as we said, Trustee Rossi and I have been talking about going to a second phase of the Legion Park, expanding on original ideas that were presented a few years ago. That's it for parks.
Short-term vacation.
So, we've heard from dozens and dozens of people, perhaps over 100 people, in, shared input with these workshops. I think we should have one more, but maybe the focus of the next workshop should be on, and we take comments from the public, but maybe we should comment on what we think about all these things, and see if we can see how this thing is going to take shape, and come up with some kind of conclusion, and maybe all put our cards on the table and say what we think about, all these different elements with what's proposed in the draft for the short-term rentals.
I think that's a good idea.
Do you want to set a date?
We have been kind of doing this 2 weeks after our monthly meeting, which would be June 26th. Unless my daughter has a softball game, but those haven't been scheduled yet.
And then you know it's going to be on
Then it
June
would-
26th.
Yeah.
We'd have to check the calendar to see if there's anything else scheduled on that Tuesday.
But probably not, yeah. Usually not, right?
Usually not.
Yeah.
you want to set it for June 26th?
Yeah, tentatively.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, backup would be the next evening, maybe?
27th?
Yeah,
Sure.
okay.
If it's available. So we'll need to advertise as well for this.
Yeah, and talk to Pat when she gets back, or?
Mhm.
Okay.
You're calling it a workshop?
Yeah, workshop.
So it'll be 7 PM here at Village Hall, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Tree Commission.
Okay. Start over here. The Tree Commission received 2 applications for trimming and removal of trees. One from Tom Connolly at 66 Violet Place. The Tree Commission recommended that he be allowed to remove that tree. And apparently, the application states that Tom plans to do the work himself, and the Tree Commission is fine with that, provided he is a certified arborist with insurance. The second application was from...
Can we have a question now? We talked about this one last time, and Central Hudson was going to do it.
Right. Central Hudson's scheduled to take it down.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so I don't know why it's,
How did, okay.
Well, he got Central Hudson involved because it's a
Under
dead
one,
tree and
yeah.
it's close to a pole that's gonna knock down a transformer, so they agreed to take it down. But this was before they had that storm in Southern Dutchess where Central Hudson's been busy cleaning up down there. So and somebody from
okay.
Lewis Trees did come by and look at it. And again, this is before the havoc down in Southern Dutchess, so.
but it doesn't
Okay.
mean they're not going to do it,
No,
right?
they're still scheduled to do it.
Okay, so maybe this.
Maybe that's
this-
why he said he was gonna do it. He's maybe just saying
Okay, or yeah.
Central Hudson's gonna, he doesn't need,
Oh,
Approval for
I see.
anybody
That's why
else
he
to do
says
it.
he's gonna do it.
He's
yeah,
gonna, right,
he's gonna take care of it.
He's gonna take care of it, okay.
He
So
doesn't
clarity.
wait.
Yeah,
So, but basically, so the tree commission is saying, yes, the tree should come down.
okay, so that's
So,
good.
Okay, yeah.
We have no liability then or anything associated with it, with the homeowner taking down a tree.
Well, homeowner acting as an agent for somebody who's a certified arborist to take down the tree. And the other application was from Francis Sama at 37 West Market Street. There are a couple of locust trees that are hitting his shingle roof. The commission represents pruning the dead wood and branches by a certified arborist with insurance. They noticed that there was also a locust to the north, which they think is narrow and is probably eventually will become trouble for the roof or somewhere out or in the area. And if he wants to, they've given him permission to prune it or remove it as his choice. That was the recommendation.
So we need to vote on these. We already voted to
Correct.
remove the first tree by Central Hudson.
Okay,
Okay. The second one, no, now it's back to it. The clause in there is that it's okay, it is okay, provided he is a certified arborist with insurance.
right, I think that when the application, I was not at this meeting, the application came in, I don't think they understood that he was, that Central Hudson was to arrange for the taking down of this tree. I mean, I can amend it, should we amend that?
Well, I'm not sure what we're voting on. Are we voting Central Hudson to take it down?
Why
or are
don't we just
voting-
recommend they use a certified arborist, and then if they're foolish enough not to, then I don't think we have an ordinance that says you have to use a certified arborist with insurance, do we?
I think we may, actually. I can go into the village. I mean, that's always been a stipulation.
That's fine, we can,
Yeah.
don't bother,
Just tell us what you want us to do.
Well, I'm gonna assume that, with the Connolly tree, that Central Hudson is arranging for it, and they're gonna be using a certified arborist
They already have, yeah.
with
Yeah.
insurance, right?
I'll give you their name, Lewis.
Having said
Okay.
that, we've already voted to have that done,
Right,
so we don't need to revote.
okay. So, I would ask for, the board's approval for, to approve the tree commission's recommendation for the, tree at 37 West Market Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Thank you.
And just 2 other quick things. So again, just thank Trustee Rossi for working with the chairwoman of the tree commission, because they're looking to do an inventory of the trees within the village. This actually, hopefully we can get some state money to do that. Once we've completed the inventory, then state money to actually do maintenance and tree planting and actually help with our urban forest, as it's called, becomes available. But first you have to have the survey before they'll make that second set of funds available. So this is step one, and hopefully in an ongoing relationship. And then the last thing is the committee was out walking. They want to establish a list of hazardous trees that require removal around the village. So they're out walking, looking at the village, and they have not yet finished that list, but they're out there looking around. That's it.
That completes all the committee reports. We're going to go into events and special requests. Now, this is a rather lengthy list. I quite honestly don't want to go through every one of them, but I want to group the Dutchess County Fair event requests into one category, if that's okay with the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In terms of all of those, and I'll list them. I'll read them off. It's the Dutchess County Fair 173rd Fair, Dutchess County Fair, the Dutchess County Antique Car Show, Dutchess County Country Living. Some of these have been passed, but we asked for them to bring in all their events. Dutchess County Fair Crafts Festival, Dutchess County Fair Fall Antique Show, Dutchess County Fair Good Guys, Dutchess County Fair Inflatable 5K, Dutchess County Fair May Antique Show, Dutchess County Fair Motorcycle Show, Dutchess County Fair Sheep and Wool, and the Dutchess County Fair Wine and Food, Dutchess County Outdoor Show, and that's it for Dutchess County Fair. So I'd like to make a motion to approve all the events at the Dutchess County Fairgrounds.
The what?
Yeah, I want to make that comment later.
Which one?
The balloon,
Oh, we already approved that one in the past, though, because that's not their event.
but they didn't give us an event application.
Then we have to go to the county, because
Yeah.
I think they're just renting an event, the Dutchess County Chamber.
We should ask them just to fill it out, because I do have a concern about the helicopter rides.
So they came forward, but they did give us, we didn't have an event
We
application.
didn't have an event application. It was a liquor issue.
Right, so that's not part of the Dutchess County Fair.
So, my only question about these are all, and you guys, these are all repeats, right? So we know what to expect.
Yeah.
But the good guys have been putting their inflatable sign up facing Route 9, which violates the Fairground Zoning District code that we co-wrote with them. So I guess I'll talk to John Fenton about that.
Yeah, if it's a code violation, absolutely.
They had that big inflatable square sign they put facing outside. The other thing is, it was, yeah. No, it was, I saw it. And didn't we agree that the access for vendor access was not going to be on Platt Avenue, or something changed? Remember?
We agreed for the main fair. I don't know if it's for every event. I'm not sure.
I thought it was because of the weight load issue on, the Platt has a 3-ton weight limit. And I didn't think the vendors were going through Platt.
Were they going down?
Their directional sign was directing them through that way.
The last event, it was off of Route 9 onto the, what is that, Mulberry, where it comes out on
Yeah.
Route
The
9?
extension there.
That was a vendor access.
This said, there was a sign right on Platt that said vendor access, and the good guys slogan and everything, and so the vendors were going
Oh, I
right
didn't
down
see
to
that.
Platt.
I didn't see it either.
It was,
I believe it.
So I'm assuming that they were following.
But that side road was open off Mulberry to Route 9. That was open before the event for vendors to go in.
I just thought that they weren't supposed to, that Platt was no longer going to be a vendor access.
Oh.
So
That's what they agreed to a few years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're, maybe good guys put that sign up by mistake, who knows? I didn't see
Well,
it.
who's- Those are my concerns. I'll
Well,
talk
we
to,
can follow up with on the access.
okay. Who's our go-between? Is this you, or
Might as well be me. I can do it.
just ask
Yeah.
FYI, and then I'll talk to John Fenton about the sign.
All right. Yeah. Okay. And then we have a couple unique ones.
I'm sorry, did you want to do the country fair, the motion made by Gary?
Yeah, all right, approve that. Yeah, I made a motion to approve all of the Dutchess County outdoor events as one.
Then second.
Second?
Right, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried, thank you. We have CJ, then we have some that are part of Porch Fest,
Yeah,
which are
Four of
CJ,
them.
yeah, CJ's Peddling, Ellen Nichols, Roscoe's Barbecue, and The Cup Takes the Cake. Are all part of Porch Fest.
I move we approve those as submitted.
Okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
I'm not opposed, just on one of the applications, the fingerprint requirement has been crossed out.
I asked about that because it's a second act, we already have them on file.
Fine, yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Agreed, yes.
Yeah,
approved.
I had the same concern, and good point. Next is events and special requests. Let me just back up here a second. Which we have none. That's good. Moving forward, other business? None?
I'm sorry, I have a quick question.
Okay.
The NYPIRG,
NYPIRG,
was that a Porch Fest?
no.
That was, what's the,
I don't, and where's that at, Karen?
it's just listed right
They're
under
not.
the Porch Fest ones. So the,
It's on the agenda, but it's not on our packet.
Yeah, it's not in our packet.
It's not on our
It's
packet.
not in our packet,
oh, okay,
no. So it's not part of the agenda.
okay.
The events and special requests are not part of the packet either. The County Progressive Action Alliance Farmers Market Table request. I do not have that on file.
I don't have it either.
And the Assemblyman Cahill Farmers Market Table request, I do not have on file. So they will have to be postponed until,
We have a meeting in 2 weeks if it's
yeah,
time sensitive, so.
yeah. Correspondence, none. Personnel issues, none. And the last thing would be
Minutes?
minutes approval. The minutes approval for 5/8, 2018, 5/23, 2018, and 6/7, 2018. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Any discussion? Amendments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
But I'll
Oppo-
recuse from the 7th meeting because I wasn't here.
Yeah. Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain from this, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Recuse.
We got you.
It's late.
All right,
Better
yeah.
watch out. The Ethics Committee's watching you.
All right, this time I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to cover updates on the current union contract and the health insurance proposals.
Second.
Good night, Susanna.
Thank
All in
you.
favor?
Aye.
Good night,
Opposed?
Brenda.
Good night, Brenda.
Abstained?
Thank you.
So carried.
Okay. And are we going to come back in this session?
No, I'm going to make a motion to come back in a second. So you can stay, because now I'd like to make a motion to end the executive session. And go
Second.
back into regular session.
Aye.
Aye.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Very good. Very good. 10 o'clock.
All right.
Well, let's try to wrap through some other stuff here in a minute.